I've been looking into day trading, bro.
Oh, here you go.
I think it's the next move for me. I'm about to be rich.
Oh, really?
And it don't even take much. I could just watch YouTube videos.
YouTube videos? You ain't afraid to lose all your money, dog?
Nah, man, this gonna be easy. I was on Wall Street bets all morning, downloaded Robinhood this evening. Man, day trading gonna be a breeze. It's like basically cheating. Game plan done. When Monday come, man, I'm about to be feasting. Let me rest up so I can run a checkup.
Monday morning, rise and shine.
How many tendies can I find? I copped some overstock options. Was a shock when the stock started dropping. Yeah, I had my sights on Zoom and I got it. Now there's more jumbo shrimp in my pocket. Apple my bitch, I love when she hitting that split. Now I'm popping, stock going up like a rocket. I'm going to the moon with Elon. I'm as rich as it get you a peon. I'm feeling like Dave, stock going up. Follow the Fed, your heart and trunk. I had a Kodak moment, now picture me riding in a Lambo.
Microphones are live. We should be good. Let me back off the music. Oh, I need to keep that. Actually, I need to keep that going. I need to keep that full strength. I got to turn it. Yeah, so we're good. All right. Welcome to the Rainbow Trends stream. I hope you guys are doing well. Very special stream today. We haven't done an interview in a good bit of time, so wanted to do this one for a while with our good friend Dan over at TrendSpider. Been friends with him for a few years now. Met him through our beloved crypto paradigm. And we've just been chatting and working together off and on throughout the years, and I figured it's time to do an interview. And if you guys, the normal spiel, if you want to find any of the information about me, definitely check us out at rainbow-trends.com. And if you have any information about looking into what Dan's all about, it's at trendspider.com. And we'll see where we can go from there. But before we get started, as with all guests, there are impersonators. So I do want to go over a form of two-factor authentication. And Dan, how many times has your account been banned from Twitter?
Once.
Once?
Once.
Okay. That's impressive considering you've been in, I think, since 2009, which is way older than Twitter.
Yeah, it got banned after Elon came in, and then they gave it back. So I was like, okay.
That's awesome. Sorry, so that's one factor authentication down. The second one, $20. What's your order?
However many cheesy gordita crunches that buys. I'll
That's
take
hilarious.
all cheesy gordita crunches, specifically the ones with the Dorito shell.
I just tried the new ones out, these Cantina ones, and it's nothing but bread.
Yuck.
And I was not a fan. And then our beloved...
I'm of the opinion that Taco Bell is the most innovative fast food chain in the world. They only have like 5 ingredients, and somehow they make a million things out of them. It's wizardry. It's alchemy. It's incredible.
There's an episode with Conan O'Brien. He goes to their corporate lab, and they have a lab room where they test out new products, and it's literally they have every single thing lined out in the spread, and then they can like mix and match. But I'm glad you confirmed you're not a gordita, or you're not a Crunchwrap fan, because our beloved Doppel friend is all about this, while I'm about the cheesy gordita crunches, just like you.
I will fight a cheesy gordita crunch guy in the street.
It's I hope it doesn't disappear, because it was I really liked the quesarito before, and they got rid of it, and I about wanted to cry. But if you guys can tell or can't tell, he's past two-factor authentication. So I'm gonna switch my screen over to his. So give us a minute. Let me switch over to standby, and I'll stop my share. You can start your screen share again, and then I'll start capturing yours.
Is that up?
It's up and good, and I've switched over. Everything's looking good. What's up, server? What's up, Vanity? So, anywho, I don't want to do a stereotypical interview, but I'm going to open the floor, Dan, for you to do your normal interview or your introduction, which I'm sure you get asked all the time at every speaking event. Roll us through that one.
Sure. So I'm Dan. I founded TrendSpider about 7 years ago. So we're kind of getting old in startup world. I built it because I was a trader, right? I was actually, I remember an exact moment the idea popped up because it was like 2 a.m. and I was sitting around trading futures, right, getting creamed. It was like the Europe Open. And I'm wondering, why the hell am I doing all of this work by hand? Like I made a lot of analysis errors. Like my biases get in the way, right? All the normal stuff that traders do. At my other business at the time, we were cloud before cloud was a buzzword. So like we were deploying servers by pushing buttons with like precision and custom hardware and software. It was really automated. And I was sitting there wondering, like, my trading life is nothing like my infrastructure life, right? Like in my investing life, I do everything by hand. And worse, I don't have like one tool I can use. I'm bouncing between TradingView and StockCharts.com and CheddarFlow and whatever, right? Like all these different products. And it sucked, right? So decided to try to make it better. My background is in startups, so TrendSpider is my 5th startup. I built and co-founded and sold 4 companies before this, so it's kind of my thing. And I didn't intend to commercialize it in the beginning. It was originally just meant to be like a selfish pursuit. Like, hey, I want my life to be better and be more profitable as a trader and spend less time staring at a million charts all day, right? And more time just placing my bets and going about life. So I decided to build it, and took a little while to find the right person to build the prototype. Ultimately met Russ. Russ is our CTO. I consider him a co-founder. He's been here since the very, very beginning. And Russ had spent his career at TradingView, at eSignal, at a bunch of trading tech firms. So he had the right skill set and the right experience to take this on. So we teamed up. And meanwhile, I was trying to sell my other business. It was called Single Hop at the time. And this was like, I feel like very late 2016 or early 2017. And Russ started working on the prototype for TrendSpider. And at the beginning, it was just a chart tool. So all it did was detect trend lines and you could pull up a symbol. It didn't even have real-time data. It was delayed. And I remember like having breakfast in Boston. We were about to go meet with our investors at Single Hop to pitch them on the idea of selling the company, right? And that very morning I got an email from Russ. He was like, "Hey, I built your prototype. Go check it out." So we met with investors, decided to sell the thing. I had a few months to kill, went at home and played with this thing, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is actually really good." That was my first aha moment. The second one was, I'm probably not the only person who wants this, right? Like it was really cool to be able to just type in Apple and have trend lines identified on Apple and have them be pretty good lines, right? And in some cases, ones I wouldn't pick up on it myself. So we threw it up on the internet. We gave it a domain name. It was called Chart Calculator at the time. And tweeted about it a few times, and like 1,000 people signed up in a week, right? It was free, so like they weren't putting any skin down, but it showed that there was interest, and we had to cut off free signups. So we did, and then we're like, this has legs, right? And this could maybe be a business that can become a sustainable, like long-term company. It might be something that could make life better for a lot of traders, kind of level the playing field, so to speak. Because by then I had gotten to know a lot of like institutional traders. I'm in Chicago, so there's a ton of funds here, right? And just chilling with them and talking to them, I was realizing that they trade so different than I do, right? Like they have a data advantage, they have a resource advantage, they have a decision-making advantage, right? They have human capital that I don't have, right? They have all the resources they need, and I have none, right? And I'm deluding myself into thinking that I know how to trade when, whether I know or not doesn't matter because I'm outgunned. So we spent a while finalizing things, adding the basics, user logins, watch lists, some basic alerts, line charts, right? The stuff, the like table stakes shit that you just have to have. And we launched it in March of 2018. That was we launched TrendSpider 7 days after Single Hop got acquired, so I took no breaks. And I had to promise my wife at the time that TrendSpider would be my last startup, right? So I don't think there's another inning for me after this one. And it kind of took off. I was very surprised. I estimated our chances of success at the onset to be under 50%. Right, we were up against some very entrenched big players. Right, like on one hand, retail, you got TradingView, $2 billion company, right, 1.5 million paying subs. And the other end of the spectrum, you got Bloomberg, right, $100 billion business, right, like millions of paying subs too. So we didn't think that this would work, but we felt like we had to try. So it did work though, right? Like we got a lot of people signing up almost immediately, and we listened to a lot of their feedback and kept building. And we managed to build this business without any VC money, which is incredible, right? TrendSpider is entirely funded by our customers, and we keep building cool stuff. So today, fast forward 7 years, give or take, TrendSpider is much closer to a Bloomberg than a TradingView. It's meant to be an all-in-one, comprehensive, everything in one place, everything just works together, full-featured terminal. You can do research in it, you can identify ideas, you can find outliers, you can automate analysis, you can automate trades and actually create bots without writing code. Late last year, so we're almost a year in, like last August or so, we hit what we call full roadmap, right? So that means everything we set out to 7 years before, or 6 years at the time, we finally finised.
Was
so
there a party?
So no, we just made a new roadmap. But it was a bit of a party. We did definitely.
Job's not done.
Yeah, it was done, and then we made it not done again. But it's a chance to like build really cool stuff now. Like now that the basics are there, we can start dabbling in like machine learning and neural networks and giving people ways to build custom AI models and all kinds of crazy stuff. And whatever we do, right? And I'll shut up after this, but we keep one kind of principle front and center, and that's we want to level the playing field, man. Like it pains me to see retail traders still struggling, like almost 20 years after I got into trading, for the same reasons that they were struggling back then. The technology differential is massive. And while Bloomberg may look like an antiquated piece of shit and its interface is god awful, it is incredibly powerful. Yeah. And it's unfair that retail guys like me and you and probably everybody on this call have to use a piecemeal, disparate set of random websites and tools to do their jobs. And these guys have like every single price point in the entire planet and a way to message Ken Griffin, right? Like it's just unfair. So that's kind of what we're out to do, and the stuff we build from here will be, to really accelerate that like evolution. So that's the story.
No, it's kind of shocking because you really explained exactly what I went through. Is I got rinsed, round tripped a bunch of stuff, and just got sat there in the dust of it all, going, "What the hell just happened?" This was back during like the 2017 crypto run. Mm-hmm. And I could tell there was something in control of the markets. And I could tell like, okay, these whales are real. And there's all these people pitching all these tools. And I started doing the math like on paper and back testing. And I was like, dude, this stuff doesn't work. It looks great in hindsight, but it doesn't give you live signals. And then the stuff that's forward looking, it's inaccurate. So I just started trying to make my own tools, and hell, I was kind of like you at that point, was just like, I'm just building it because I need something. Yeah. And I didn't even try to market it because I thought there'd be no way anybody would ever trade colored charts. And then people started realizing like you could project movements and bottoms and support with like what I was doing, and they're like, how are you doing this? And then they started asking me to like offer it, and that's what led to the whole thing starting off. But it's a real similar story. It's like, hey, I need something, and I'm passionate enough to try to build it because I'm not even a programmer, and I had to go back and read all the every single bit of code I could to try to reference and back test and figure out how to do it all. Because my background is frankly subsea engineering, which it's a different type of math. But I do want to back you up to the beginning though.
Okay.
7 years ago, you wanted to start to build this, and I know Rust was not an easy find. So
No.
you knew you needed a really, really strong wingman, and I'd like to see if you'd go into realizing what you needed and then like kind of the journey of like trying to find that, because like without a team, like none of this is possible. So I think it's real interesting, those stories.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I've been doing internet stuff and building startups for a long time. So I was really comfortable with working with overseas talent, remote people, right? Already. And I was already very familiar with how to find people like that. Russ was a contact of a contact, right? I didn't know him directly. I was actually I found somebody else, Dennis. He worked for us for a while on a separate project, but he left. And we had talked for several months and we're ready to start writing code. And then something personal happened in his life and he couldn't proceed. Right. And he was like, you should talk to my friend Russ, though. He is perfect for this. So I did. And it turned out that Russ was. I think a lot of like startup founders really struggle here. Finding the right talent is 99% of the job of a founder and a CEO, right? Like you are nothing without your people. And so that's a skill that you develop through experience over like an extended amount of time. Russ lived in Russia at the time, right? He lives in the U.S. now. He moved here like right after the war started and was very lucky to get a visa. But you know, like he was in Russia. We had like even today, our staff spread across 11 countries and 9 states. Right. I mean, we have people in Argentina, we have people in France, we have people in Brazil and Canada and Colombia and Hungary and Slovakia, right? Like you name it. There's a TrendSpider guy probably somewhere in your country. And we also have you know, people in a ton of different states here. My philosophy, and it's not like all peaches, right? But my philosophy is hire the best people you can, no matter where they are. With the CTO build TrendSpider role, right? I really only had one criteria, and that's they knew something about trading, enough to have a conversation about it, right? So that was my test. It was like, hey, here's an Apple chart. What do you see on it? Right. And Russ was like, I see this and trend lines, and I plotted a VWAP here, right? And I'm like, okay, you get it. Like that's all I really needed to know, is that he could write code and he understood trading. I didn't want somebody who had I thought about buying a platform, but that comes with a lot of debt, and also the opinions of the people who built it being kind of ingrained within it.
Yes.
I didn't want to do that. So, you know, we built it completely from scratch, right? Every bit of it, including like the chart rendering and all of that stuff. And his experience at TradingView is really key to it. At TradingView, he was in charge of their charting library and also PineScript. So like he was one of the guys who actually built PineScript and built the charts. So he had a wealth of experience that he could apply here. And we managed to stay friends with the TradingView guys too the whole time. So that's also a plus.
That is good. No, I appreciate that, because you've always talked about him very, very highly for years, and the cool stuff he's done and helped build this. And I've always kind of viewed him as your go-to guy.
Wouldn't exist without him. He probably gets more credit for it than I do. Like I had the idea, but he made it happen.
Absolutely. And I think I've had 1 or 2 meetings with him, and it was very, very interesting individual. So very cool. That's awesome. It's always hard to find people, and some of like the key people that have helped me along the way. It's always been a struggle, like you said, to find the right people. But
yeah, it's hard to find the right people, and it's also really hard to motivate them. Because like the thing about brilliance, and like Russ, I genuinely consider to be 100 times smarter than me. Like you walk into his home office and he's got like a whiteboard full of really complicated equations and like diagrams that I cannot understand. He's explaining it to me. I'm like, dude, just stop. Like, I'm not getting any of this. Just spare us both. All right. You're gonna finish an hour from now and be like, I don't know what you just said. Um, but that experience was really big. TradingView is a really good product. Like I don't consider them directly competitive, even though everyone else would. And I think he did a really good job there. So it's an honor to have him here.
That's cool. Maybe one day we'll try to sneak him on a interview as well.
If you can get him to speak publicly, I would be amazed. Right?
Just got to find the right way to bait him. We'll have to see.
The funny random anecdote, right? Like we'll have team meetups, so people will like fly to Chicago and we'll all hang out because Russ is here and I'm here, right? He'll make it like half a day, and then he'll be like, "I need to go recover from all this human interaction," and you won't see him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. I'll get in a very, very crowded space, and it's like all I hear is like the white noise, and it's over.
Yeah.
I have to take breaks from it too. But the other part of that too is you trying to find a coder who knows how to trade. How on earth do you find marketing people that can mix memes with actual products with like trading? That's hard.
When you think, hire your customers. That's what we did.
Huh.
Right. Whenever we have a job posting, we ask customers first. That's how we found James, who runs our support team. That's how we found Brad, who runs our marketing. He doesn't run social, but that's how we found the two guys who run our social. We've hired a lot of customers. They know the product. They're here because they like it. They like it enough to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
If they're paying for it, they're into trading. So like those are perfect folks to join the team. And they generally, in my experience, really want to work here, right? Like if they like the product, you want to support it. Like how many Apple fanboys would take a job offer from Apple, like without thinking about it?
That's all. That's true.
Like if Peter Thiel called me up and goes, "Come work at Palantir," I'd be like, "Sorry, TrendSpider." Like it was like 2 seconds. I would take that. Right. So it's you find the right people, right? And you find them by trying to pick people who already know you somehow. One of our support reps, he wasn't a customer. He wasn't a trader, but he'd applied to every job we had ever posted, right? Going back like several years. And finally we're like, we need to just interview this kid. Like he really wants to work here. And he was like, "Look, I want to learn everything about trading. My dream is to become a full-time trader. I want to learn the right way and learn how to use technology in trading. And, will you please hire me?" Right? Like, you're hired. Like, you start tomorrow. So the trick is find people who want to be there. Right. My biggest red flag is if someone gives me the sense that they're just here for the paycheck. Like you can get a paycheck a million places, right? Like that's not like money shouldn't motivate you. If that's the only reason you come into work, just get a new job, right? Life's short. You only got 75 years of living and then 10 of suffering before you're fucking buried. Do something you want to do, and if it seems like somebody like doesn't want to be here, right? Like they've worked here for a while and they just seem miserable, and I can tell. I'll usually just call them up and be like, "I'll give you $5,000, $10,000 if you just leave." Right? Like, do you want to take me up on that? Because you have a choice, right? And sometimes they won't, and then their attitude changes, right? And sometimes they will take it, right? And then it's like everybody wins, right? They get some money, they don't have to be at a job they hate. I don't have to have an employee that doesn't want to be here, right? My customers don't have to deal with someone who doesn't want to be here, right? And so I think that's the trick, and a lot of people fail at that. I sure as hell failed at that. Like my first real startup mid-phase, you would walk into that office and it's like 75 people and you could smell the misery, right? Like you could literally smell the misery. No one wanted there. The pay was shit, right? Like we didn't know what we were doing. Two first-time founders figuring it out, right? And when we sold that business, like I vowed like never doing that again, right? Like I will not let anyone be at a business I run unless they like genuinely want to be there.
That's all. That's good insight. And I was real good friends with my previous jobs, HR manager, and I go, "How do you hire HR people? Because they know how to get through interviews and fake like who they really are." And he goes, "Oh, it's a challenge." He's like, "We typically have to hire them and then figure out if they're here just for a paycheck or or they're going to be genuine. But we've only got so much time. And
I have all night.
This TrendSpider is a monster, and I've mentioned it to multiple people. Like, hey, I know a lot about charting, but every time I do a screen share with Dan, he leaves me in the dust. So this one is recorded, so we can go back and learn this. But I want to start this off, demo whatever you want to demo, and we can start talking specifics, because I'm still blown away on a lot of the stuff you guys do. Because you do mention, like, this is not a direct competitor to TradingView, and I agree. This is getting closer to a terminal, and now with like the signal stack integrations, it's turning into something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even look at TradingView's website anymore. Like early on, we used to. We don't look at stock charts either. But I spend a lot of time at my friend who has who's at Morgan Stanley playing with his Bloomberg. Right, so that's the goal, right? I want everybody to have something better than Bloomberg. So I'll walk you through it. I'll show you some of the cool stuff, right? Have you seen ratios at all?
No.
Okay, so in the symbol box, right, top left corner, you can type like SPY, right, or you can type like Coinbase, BTC, USD, right? But another thing you can do here is some fancy stuff. Like, let's say you want to see the ratio of Pfizer's stock price to Google Trends mentions of the word COVID. Well, you can do that, right? It looks like this is a line chart. This is Pfizer divided by Google Trends mentions of COVID. That's right. Awesome. This is just Google Trends mentions of COVID. You can see COVID's kind of falling out of favor. So like that's a cool function there. And you can do math, right? So if you want to see what a portfolio of 50 shares of Microsoft plus 10 shares of Apple, right, would look like as a chart. This is what it would look like if you owned 50 shares of Microsoft and 10 of Apple, right, on a weekly chart. So you can do all kinds of math in the symbol box. Some other platforms do have something like this. This is far more flexible. You can use, I believe, up to 20 symbols in one formula. And you can also reference like alternative data, like Fred data, like mortgage rates, interest rates. You can like add like a MSFT.V, I believe, right? This is Microsoft's volume plotted on the price chart. You can divide things across asset class. This is SPY divided by the E-mini S&P contract, right? You'd expect this to be a straight line. It's not.
Nope.
Right, which is really weird. And it's also a lot of arbitrage opportunity. So the symbol box is really powerful, and a lot of people glaze past that. So I like to kind of show that first.
So you just went into something that majority of people have not seen before, charting software that's referencing Google data trends, because I'm actually getting text messages right now about this. What other data sources can this thing touch?
You can import any custom data you want. This is new. So you click on your name, your user icon on the right, and you click on upload custom data. And then it gives you two ways to do it. One, you can just upload a file. And two, there's an API key that you can use to push data into it. So you can like either give it a constant stream of data, or you can upload the data for it. And then one thing that's coming to this is the ability to pull data. So you'll be able to say, go to this URL and pull this spreadsheet or pull this Google Sheet or whatever, right? Every 2 minutes or every minute or whatever. This is new, right? That's why it's labeled beta, but it's really cool. And you know, you can do quite a bit of it. You can also reference custom imported data in custom scripting, right? So you can utilize like a stream of data from a third-party source and do math with the price chart with it. So that's how you can access third-party and alternative data, some of it. Let's go through this top one.
Will you ever be able to import or look at like Twitter trending and references and stuff on that as well?
You know, we were like 80% done building that, and then Musk slapped a $500,000 a year price tag on the Twitter API. So we were about to release that. I'm happy we didn't, because like that would have sucked. We may do it at some point, right? I just don't want to. I'd rather spend $500,000 on buying data for like India and Canada and the UK than Twitter.
That's true.
You know, it's a big world of data, and Twitter is only relevant, you know, to some parts of it. So let me go through this top bar. There's a lot of really cool shit in here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of this, but I will go through it quickly. The first icon after the symbol box is something unique to TrendSpider called reverse watch list management. Instead of editing a watch list and removing or adding symbols for it, you edit a symbol and decide which watch list it's in. So you can just add it or remove it from any of your watch lists this way. It's really fast, and that comes into play throughout the product. Like when you come across a symbol in a bubble chart, you can right-click on it and add it to a watch list. Next to that is a layout selector. I'm not going to show you this, but you can have multiple charts if you want to. Next to that is MTFA, stands for multi-time frame analysis. I'm going to come back to that one. Then you have a bunch of automation things, automated fib measurements. You can customize these to measure fibs however you want. Once you do, it'll measure them automatically for you every time you pull up a chart. You also have automated trend line detection. Turn log scale off. And this is cool because the way this works, right, is first it finds every possible trend line that could exist on this chart anywhere, right? It connects all the highs to all the highs and all the lows to all the lows, up to 2,000 trend lines per chart. Then it stops, right? Like we give up after 2,000. And then we filter these, right? So you can filter it down to more lines, right? You can filter it down to most relevant, right? And you can customize these filters. You can actually build your own rules. You can be like, only find trend lines that price touches 7 times but never breaks through, or only give me a trend line that's touched twice and no more, and it's 300 candles or more in length, right? You have the flexibility to build your own trend line detection formulas, right? And each line that we identify has a whole ton of variables tied to it, like bounces off it or breakthroughs. We call them violations, but it's the same thing. So you can build completely custom trend detection rules and have the system do it for you. And the way that I recommend you use this is do your own work first. Like, don't be lazy. Yeah. Do your own analysis and then flip this on and see what you missed, right? And there's a good chance you missed something that's relevant, right? And then just double click on what you care about and turn auto trends off, and what you double clicked on will stay on your screen, right?
So it's the first time you showed me this, I was just like, what in the hell? And I think the second question was what is your monthly server bill? Because if you've got thousands of people turning this on, it's got to be a lot of cloud compute.
It's not as I think last year we spent around 800 grand on servers, right? Like, it's a lot, but we spend a lot more on market data. Yeah. Market data is after payroll our second biggest expense, right? It's ungodly expensive. And I'll happily go into a tangent about it later if you want me to.
I'm going to try to trick you into the candle types because nobody talks about that.
Okay.
Data. Most people, I think a lot of people, if you guys don't know, you can't just randomly pull all this data on all the stocks in the world. Yeah, Google can find it and stuff. But if you're polling the data for every second of every chart, you have to pay for it. And I've never done any of that, but I understand at least a little bit of the basis of what you go through. Because, like you said, spending $500,000 on Twitter data is worthless compared to what other data you could actually grasp. But
so a typical exchange, like NASDAQ, NYSE, whatever, right? They're India, TSE, BSE, the UK, right? TSX. Almost all of them are the same. It's typically between 50 and 100 grand a year to access the data. And then it's a fee per user that accesses it, right? In some cases, the fee is really high, like in futures, right? And in some cases, it's really low, like NASDAQ, BQT data. But the thing that people don't understand is you get what you pay for when it comes to market data. Like IEX data is free. Anybody can get IEX data for free and use it in their app, but it covers less than 0.5% of all US trading. So when you go and zoom into a 1-minute chart on Google or Apple or Microsoft or any big stock, you're going to have tons of endless gaps all over that chart because it's simply not seeing the trades. And convexly, if you take NASDAQ data and put it side by side with NYSE data, same chart, same symbol, same moment in time, you're going to see different prices, different quotes. You're going to see different gaps, different candles, right? They'll be similar, but they won't be identical. And this is true across all of them, right? If you're pulling data from NYSE Philadelphia, it'll be different than NYSE New York, which will be different than NASDAQ Chicago, which will be different than Miami Exchange. And this new Texas exchange will be different still. Equities are pretty decentralized in many ways, similar to crypto, right? Like the price of Bitcoin on Coinbase is different than on Kraken, right? The same thing in equities. It's just a little more efficient, so it's a little more tighter. Mm-hmm. So the trick with market data is to to find quality data, get redistribution rights to it. And then you have this, like, they give you a 300-page document, right? So that document is like, here's how to interpret our tick stream, right? Because they're not going to give you candles, like NASDAQ doesn't give candles, they give you ticks. But there's 170 different kinds of ticks, right? There's a tick that's like, hey, a new trade took place at this price and this asset. That's the normal tick you expect. But there's also a tick that says, hey, go back 5 ticks. That price was wrong. Change it to this price, right? So you have to like build your own candles by interpreting this stream of ticks, where some of the ticks are modifying previous candles or deleting previous candles or inserting previous candles, right? In the past, right? So the market's constantly reprinting itself, and nobody knows that. It's kind of fascinating.
I remember it was like 2 years ago. I bought a capitulation wick on Coinbase on I think it was Bitcoin Cash at the time, just because it was falling off the chart, and I got an executed market order that was lower than any chart said was even possible, and I couldn't figure it out. Went checked all the logs. Coinbase's like low of the day was higher than what I executed it at, all this stuff, and I reached out to you, and I was like, Dan, I think there's 2 books on Coinbase.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I was like, what? And sure enough,
there's 2 books at every exchange too.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there more?
There is the unadulterated book, the raw tape, and then there's the consolidated tape.
Really?
Consolidated tape is computed by NASDAQ after market close around like 8 Eastern. And that's where you get your consolidated NASDAQ charts, the charts that are the same, the historical charts, right? That's a process where they pull the prices from everybody and mush them together, right? So you're like NASDAQ consolidated, which is really NASDAQ tape A, B, and C, is the official close price, the official price, right? The like price of record, but it's not computed during the day. It happens at night.
Is that why ETF flows are delayed?
Yeah, one of many little nuanced reasons why that's the case. So it's kind of crazy how like messy it all is. You know, like you would think that this is the market, like it's a quadrillion-dollar thing, and it's held together by toothpicks and gum. Like it's really bad.
And do you have issues? Do they ever change like their data, the way they process or handle the data, and you have to update how you guys receive
all the time? And it's even worse, right? Like I'll give you an example. SIBO, which we get index data for like VIX and SPX and things like that, right? They just decided randomly earlier this year that they're going to separate SPX and VIX into 2 separate feeds, right? So it's like all of a sudden everyone had both of them. And then everyone loses SPX. They still get VIX though, right? So like we call them up and they're like, yeah, we changed this. We just didn't tell you. So it's like, okay, well, you need to turn on whatever feed you put, whatever feeds you have. We need all the stuff we used to have. And they're like, that's fine. That'll be another 70 cents per user per month.
What?
Right? Yeah. And we're like, okay, may I please have another, sir? Yeah. All right, like what are you going to do? Like they're not going to negotiate with you. They can't, right? And that's another thing. Nobody gets special deals on market data. It's regulated, right? The law says that what they charge one company must be the same as they charge everyone else, the same terms, the same everything. You'll never get a special deal. You'll never get an extended trial. Either every user of NASDAQ gets a trial or none of them do. They have no flexibility at all. Right. The SEC tells them what they can do and has to sign off on it, and they can't do anything else. So like you lose the ability to like have a relationship with them as a vendor, right? And I'm sure they love that because then they can charge you whatever they want and blame the government for it.
Yeah. So do they charge you to integrate automated trading as well?
No, they don't consider what we're doing to be automated trading. If we were doing high frequency stuff, they would, right? They have separate packages for high frequency, but that's a completely different animal.
Can you show, because you're at indicators now, I don't know how far you want to go into indicators, but
what do you want to see?
I want to see how, I wanted to see the raindrop candles for sure, because that's something We
Let's do
actually
it.
called you on a stream one time in the Discord, and it was like, hey, I just know the guy who knows this. Let me call him. And
Yeah.
we had a little Discord session. Yeah, these are cool. These are cool.
Yeah. So let me explain what you're looking at here, and then I'll tell you how we use these. Right. This is called a raindrop chart. This is patented. Russ invented this. So he came up with this. You can't get this anywhere else. Any clones of this are illegal, right? We own like the actual patent that's issued on this. This is a volume, time, and price consolidated type of price visualization. So let's look at one of these. And I'll do this, I'll do it on a daily chart because it'll be easy for me to explain. Like, let's take today's raindrop, this ugly down thing, right? This is a daily chart. So the raindrop represents one day, right? 6.5 hours of trading, a normal trading session. On crypto, it would be 24 hours, right? So it represents one full daily session for this asset class. That has a high and a low, and that high and low will match the candle, right? It'll actually it'll match the intraday candles that make up the candle, which doesn't always match the daily consolidated close for the reasons I described a little bit ago. But it has the same high and a low as the intraday price action, right, during that session. Because it's computed from intraday candles. Like, we take all of the small candles and mush them together to calculate this. Down the middle of each raindrop is a vertical line. That line separates the first half of the session from the second half. Left is first half, right is second half, right? So that means on a daily equity chart or ETF chart like this, the left side is the first 3.25 hours. The right side is the second 3.25 hours. Together, it's 6.5 hours, right? If I do BTC USD, right, we'll do like Kraken or something, right? Each of these raindrops now represents 24 hours, and each half is 12 hours, right? So following so far?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I always hate you have to be pulling the multi-time frame data to pull this off, and
yes,
I always break TrendSpider every time I try to do that.
Yeah. So what does that end up looking like, right? So these are weekly, so it's like 2.5 days and 2.5 days or whatever, because this is futures, so it's trades 5 days a week, I guess 6 really, so 3 days. So the way to read this is the shape, this kind of jagged shape to it, that is a volume profile. The left kind of hills and valleys are the volume profile for the first half of this period. So, on daily, it's 12 hours or 6.5 hours for a full session. So it's 3.25 on the left, right? On weekly, it's like 3 days roughly. But this is where the volume was the first half of this week, right? And this is where the volume is the second half, right? So it's showing you how volume moved with time, right? Now, keep in mind, this week is not over. It's Thursday. There's still another day. So this only represents 2 days on the left and 2 on the right, because raindrops form from the middle. 30 minutes into the session, it already has both sides. They just represent 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
Right. So when the right volume is mostly above the left volume, as measured by this dash, which is the volume weighted average price for that half, the raindrop will be green, or in my chart, white, because I've changed my colors. When the opposite is true, it will be red. Right. And when the VWAPs are the same, right, they'll be blue. And blue is rare. The higher the time frame, the less common blue raindrops are. On a daily chart for something liquid like SPY or Apple, they'll make up under 4% of all candles, typically closer to 1. For a blue raindrop to form is actually quite a bit of craziness, because this is SPY we're looking at here, one of the most liquid assets in the world. During an average week, billions of shares will trade hands. And for all of those trades to be on a volume weighted average basis, traded at the same price, is pretty remarkable. Right. So what does this look like? Well, when you find a blue raindrop forming after a big rally, look at this, right? It's telling you the market doesn't know what to do and it needs to figure it out. It doesn't necessarily mean it will reverse. But if you have other stuff that might suggest it will reverse, this would add to that hypothesis. Right. So, okay. So we had this blue raindrop. This popped up like literally at the end of 2021, right near the ties. Right. Remarkable. So what happened next? Well, here we had another blue one form. This is not uncommon for them to happen in either reversals or continuations, right? After this, it continued down. And then at the very bottom, like literally the bottom, right, you had 2 more blue raindrops form. You haven't had one since, and we've had nothing but upside from there. So incorporating these into a trading system makes sense. Betting all your money on them does not, right? You need something else to point in the direction that things might go. A raindrop forming while something else is giving you that impression is additive to that thesis, right? It makes your theory stronger if it's blue. There's also a couple other patterns in raindrops besides blue ones we've identified. There's something called a balloon, right? There's something called a double flip, right? We have those all into pattern detection, and they're documented on the website, but they're generally continuation patterns, right? Like the flip and the balloon are both continuation formations. A balloon is exactly what it sounds like. It's a raindrop that looks like a balloon, right? Like with a string hanging off it, long wick, bubbly top. That's a very bullish thing. It's like a hammer, but on a volume weighted basis. Last thing about raindrops, and then I'll shut up about these. When you have raindrops on your chart and you add like an indicator to your chart, like let's add a moving average, 20 period SMA. This moving average is now volume weighted automatically, right? It makes all your indicators volume weighted. Everything, trend lines, fibs, auto trends, everything becomes volume weighted when you use raindrops.
So
and that's because
is it on the close? Yeah, it has to be on the close, right?
Yeah, they don't. Well, no, you can change it. You can use the open too, okay. Right? But in the raindrop, there is no open or close. There's a left and a right VWAP. So it'll replace the open and close with the left or the right VWAP.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. It's like that data doesn't exist till the candle's done. That's cool. And since we mentioned about baiting Russ, I'm just gonna play ignorant here and say, Dan, this didn't make any sense. If only you knew the guy who patented this and get him on stream to explain it one day. I'm just kidding. We'll click that and send it.
My name is on the patent, so like we're both on. So I did technically patent it, even though I just did the paperwork.
No, that's super cool. So
you want me to plow through some other stuff?
Plow through. What's your favorite day-to-day ones?
I will show you those. Let me highlight a couple things though.
No, go for it.
So indicators, obviously, you'll notice that there's a absolute shitload of them, right? This is now fully extendable. We added scripting and people can build indicators. These JS icons indicate that it's a JavaScript indicator, meaning it was built in custom scripting. So there's actually a lot of really cool stuff here that uses our data that you otherwise couldn't use in any other platform. And you can build your own, right? And scripting here, we've talked about this a lot. You know this, most people probably don't, is JavaScript, right? And JavaScript is one of the most popular languages in the world. Every website in the world is made in JavaScript. TradingView is made in JavaScript, right? Everything. TrendSpider is built in JavaScript, and you can build on top of TrendSpider in JavaScript. That means if you are a trader and you have an idea for an indicator, but you don't know how to code, it's really easy to find somebody to code it for you. Just go to freelancer.com and there's a billion JavaScript coders begging for work. So that's a big deal. And indicators is a big area, right? And we've added an obscene amount of indicators here. Yeah, right. So like if you can dream it, it's probably already there.
Have you seen the since you guys have opened up the JavaScript coding, is that something you've seen continued growth on and people are really digging deep into it?
Yes, especially with the update from a few months ago with backend execution, because TrendSpider is the only platform where you can actually like scan 1 minute charts using completely custom indicators, right? That use all kinds of third-party data. Most platforms that have custom indicators don't let you scan with them because that's incredibly computationally heavy.
Yeah.
So that is one of the big use cases for it. The other thing about it is because it's in JavaScript, more people can code on it, and JavaScript is extensible, right? There's this thing called NPM libraries, which are like third-party code. So if you want to build an indicator that uses Google's machine learning, just import the NPM module and you can do it, right? Like it's just there. That's impossible in ThinkScript, MQL, MetaTrader, in the scripting in Bloomberg. Like none of that stuff can do anything like that. It's because we chose to use a real language, I can't overstate that enough. And I'll add, the reason these other companies don't do that is because they want to lock their developers in. Right? If everyone had JavaScript, your code would be portable, man. Like, you'd be able to put it on TrendSpider in a minute. They don't want to do that.
That's exactly what happened to me, because I'm not a coder at length or at all, but I just read PineScript source data till I could make my own tools. And when we started talking about trying to do JavaScript, I was like, Dan, I can't read this. And I tried and I couldn't, but then luckily you guys were helping me trying to get some of that stuff over. But the other
they did it
question
on
I had,
purpose. They did it on purpose, and it's so fucked up in my opinion. Like,
if I'd have been studying JavaScript for 5 years, I'd have been set. But here we are. Have you had anybody? There's dangers to doing full blown JavaScript. How do you guys handle protection of someone trying to be malicious with it and trying to get into TrendSpider? Yeah,
that's why it took so long. The security part of it was 90% of the work. It's segmented on a separate server. There's all kinds of data piping going on in the background. It runs using this Amazon Lambda thing, so it's serverless compute, right? So each indicator for each user and each individual instance is actually running separately, right? In an isolated kind of environment. It's very complicated. We also because we allow scanning with custom indicators, right? We had to build it in a way that was really, really low resource. And it's really, really hard, because when you're scanning, you might scan to Russell 2000, and you might scan it using 9 different timeframes in your scan, right? So that's 18,000 symbol charts that you have to then download, right? Because 2,000 symbols, 9 timeframes each, right? And a scan could then incorporate other types of data, analysts, news, watch lists, right? The fundamentals, other stuff. And then furthermore, it may incorporate a custom indicator that depends on other types of data that then needs to be calculated. Right. So it's really complicated in the background. I'm shocked that it worked, but there is a fairly, it's not a small incremental cost every time someone pushes the scan button. Like, we have to pay a couple fractions of a penny per symbol that they scan through. So it's part of why our data fees are really high, and part of why our infrastructure fees are high. Because when people scan, it's actually spinning up like VMs in the background, right? And like those are then running the scans in parallel. Something like 85,000 scans a day are run on TrendSpider, right? So it's a lot of scanning. So it's a big deal. And that's why our architecture is so complicated, right? Like, we have everything we do is redundant. We have servers in New Jersey, and we have servers in Ohio, and we have servers in Chicago, right? I don't know why it's all kind of on the east half of the country. That wasn't my call. Like, I would imagine we probably should have something in like Phoenix or Seattle or something west. But it doesn't matter that much, right? And like, in each of those facilities, those are all Amazon data centers, right? There's like an exact replica copy of TrendSpider, right? And it's not just TrendSpider, but it's our data feeds as well, right? They each take in NASDAQ, they each take in NYSE, right? And then there's a load balancing layer. So when you connect to it, it's going to decide, hey, you're going to go to the Ohio server farm, you're going to go to the Chicago farm, right? And your connection will then persist with the farm that you connected to. But if one of those goes down, you just pop up on the next one, right? That's how we maintain redundancy, right? And then it fires off a bunch of internal panic alarms, and we figure out why it went down. That's how we've maintained. We've managed to maintain 99.99939s uptime. That's like less than a minute of actual downtime all last year.
That's awesome. Do you ever have any users where you have to be like, you guys got to chill? You're doing a million scans every second?
No. We have the only users we've told chill are people who've abused free trials when we had them. Like, because we did have one guy who had like 75 accounts in like a year, right? He's just opening up a trial, canceling it, opening another trial. It's like, bro, support our work. Like, don't be a jerk.
That's awesome.
He's a customer now. Right. He was a student at the time and just couldn't afford it. Right. We ended up giving it to him for free. Just have one account, man. Like, and then when he got a job, he actually bought it. So it worked out.
That's cool. That's a customer for life.
But no, like, if we ever get close to using all our capacity, it automatically will scale up. Right. So like, there's logic that'll say like, hey, we have hit 80% RAM utilization or 80% storage, spin up another machine right now. And through Amazon API, you can do that. So it'll just spin up another server, and then it'll run a script that configures that server and distributes the that particular microservice to it. TrendSpider is a microservice based architecture. So like every little widget is its own service, right? Like the chart is a service, the seasonality widget is a service, right? They're all like these separate things running in the background that just get pulled into one interface. So it's also rare for the entire thing to go down. Like a week ago, right? It was like corporate fundamentals went down, right? So the fundamentals parts of the system stopped working. Everything else just kept working fine, right?
That's cool. And is that something Russ also gets involved with, or do you guys have like dedicated server engineers?
We have dedicated server engineers. It's called DevOps, right? So there's a DevOps team, and they're charged with server security, availability, resilience, right? Infrastructure architecture, database stuff, right? You know, anytime we release a new feature, it goes through a QA process. One of the QA engineers is a DevOps guy, right? So he'll also do that part of it.
That's cool. We want to find a tangent there. Could you show us your favorite daily day ones?
Yeah.
Indicators.
So
other than the beta rainbow trend ones, obviously.
Definitely. So I love chart pattern detection, right? So TrendSpider has fully automated pattern recognition. You can customize these, right? Here you can see it, my settings are a little goofy, but you can see it in action, right? It's picking up a channel. This channel is not the type of channel most people would draw. It is a mathematically sound channel, though. It's picking up a head and shoulders here, a head and shoulders inverse here, right? And you'll notice as we like flip through charts, right, it's going to do all I have them all enabled, so it's going to find them all. But I absolutely love chart pattern detection. Not so much because it goes on the chart, though. I'll show you why. I also am a huge fan of this new relative performance stuff we have, right? This is something that takes a stock and compares it to the whole index, right? So like this.
Oh, that's cool.
At the bottom here, this relative performance thing, let me make it look a little better.
Right. And I'll go back and just say this to the chat. I remember the first time he showed me the automated pattern detections, and that was another one where I go, how in the hell? Because I was like, one wick can invalidate like a pattern, but you have to like have the algorithm like navigate little spurts here and there, and I was like, that's beyond me. That's awesome though.
So check this out. This bottom chart here. This is relative performance versus the SP 500 on a yearly basis. And if we pull up an S&P 500 stock like Apple, right, you can see this 80.7. It's telling you that 80.7% of the other stocks in S&P 500 are doing worse than Apple, right? So it's like a market breadth indicator, but it does it against a list. And you can do this against the Russell, and you can do this using a bunch of different ways. The yearly Q4 weighted and last quarter are similar to how MarketSmith would do their, they call it relative strength. And then TechRank is similar to how StockCharts.com would do their relative strength thing. It's a slightly different, it's our own calculation, but it is similar in concept to how those would work. There's also, like, I'll show you some stuff that I think is just fun. Right. I love looking at analysts in TrendSpider. I assume most people here don't take analysts seriously, like Wall Street type guys. So this is a lot of fun.
A lot of guys like to counter trade.
Yeah, me too. And I like to counter trade with some knowledge, right? Not just blindly. So this is Tesla, right? And this is a weekly Tesla chart, a weekly Tesla range drop chart. I'll log scale it so not to cover up this stuff. All of these boxes at the bottom, these are analyst recommendations. And I don't know if you can see. Can you see the tooltip when I hover over this?
Mm-hmm. Adam Jones with Morgan Stanley.
So as you hover over these, it tells you who said what and when they said it. And this lets you use analysts like a technical indicator. It's so much fun. Like you can zoom in and it'll spread them out. And you can be like, okay, here's a local bottom in January. Who marked it with their brilliant sell recommendation, right? And you can go, okay. That is Guggenheim, right? You can zoom out a little more. Here's another bottom. Who said sell at this bottom here, right? This is like Guggenheim again, right? Guggenheim, HSBC, right? Wells Fargo, I don't know who that is, GLJ, JP Morgan, right? So you can do that, right? You can just eyeball it. Then you can test your theory. Like my theory might be Guggenheim just fucking sucks at Tesla, right? So I'm going to add this sidebar widget called analyst estimates here, right? And it's going to be the same data, but this time in a list form, right? And you can see how they highlight in yellow when I move my mouse over these.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now let's find Guggenheim, right? Here's Guggenheim. I'm going to click on you, right? So now every time Guggenheim will show up here, you can see there's a star next to them. And you can also see at the top here, this bar is Guggenheim, right? They'll separate them at the top. So now if we go to the chart legend, click the 3 dots, switch it to only favorites and click apply. We've now just isolated only Guggenheim on Tesla. So we can see how bad they are, or if they're bad. Right? They definitely sucked here. They definitely kind of sucked here, but they were right here. They were right here. They were right here, right? Like they're not all wrong. They're kind of a mixed bag. Maybe they're not a good signal. Like I wouldn't counter trade them or follow them, right? They just seem to be random.
Yeah.
Let's pick somebody else, right? Who is it? Goldman Sachs. How good is Goldman at Tesla? Well, surprisingly, not too terrible, right? At least for this period of time here. Right. So by doing this, you can actually get a sense for who to counter trade, right? And be intelligent about it instead of just blindly doing it. Yeah. Right. And like Citibank is one of my favorite examples about Tesla because they suck at Tesla. Right. Here's Citi, right? Like we can go back here, right? Mark this bottom with their sell rating, mark this rally with their sell rating, mark this bottom with their sell rating. Mark this rally with their repeated sell ratings. Mark this rally with their sell rating, right? Like you could just counter trade Citi on Tesla, right? They've switched to hold here, which makes me think it's kind of going to go down. Right. But, it's really cool to be able to make sense of this noise, right? Like I've always thought analysts are bullshit. And now I know that they're bullshit. But I know some of them are so bad that you can legitimately counter trade them and have a profitable strategy. And it's not hard to find them because you can visually eyeball them.
Is that one data source that pulls these, or do you have to go scavenge this?
No, we buy this from 2 different data sources. One of them is Benzinga, right? And then I forget the other one. I think it's like Intrinio or some other aggregator, right? The problem with analyst data is it's not all published in the same places, right? So you need aggregators or you need somebody going out there and getting it for you. I don't want to pay somebody to sit there and do it by hand, so we just buy it from somebody else.
That's cool.
But we receive the data and then we normalize it, right? Because like there's only 3 ratings in TrendSpider: buy, sell, hold, right? In reality, there's buy, strong buy, oversold, overbought, right? Overweight, all this random shit. So we normalize and we categorize like anything bullish as buy, anything bearish as sell, and anything else is neutral to make it simpler to understand. So that's one of my favorite things.
Is that
another one of them?
That's the same with the Congress, is it?
Yeah, I'll show you the Congress stuff in a moment here. That's my new favorite thing. But this is one of my all-time favorites too. This is seasonality, right? And this is seasonality for Tesla, right? And you can see that in June, Tesla closes higher than May, 79% of the time.
That's not noise.
Like, yeah, well, you can then say, okay, what's the distribution, right? What are the outliers? So this is that month, right? Out of the last 14, only 3 were red. And the worst one was down 11%, down 5, down 3 and a quarter, or 3 and a third, right? So you can see the raw data. You can see the average. You can see the 25th and 75th percentile outcomes. And you can do this. You can just change symbols here by just typing. So we can type like KO for something that's been around longer. Right, Coke's been around like 50 years, right? So this is seasonality for Coke going back 50 years, 50 years, right? You're telling me that buying at the end of January and holding for February and March isn't a solid strategy, right? Like 50 years. Or wait until the end of September and buy it and you have a 66% chance of a higher close in October, right? I see all kinds of strategies in just this alone. This is a core feature in Bloomberg, and if you don't have Bloomberg, you have to buy SeasonX, which is like twice the price of TrendSpider, and all it does is seasonality, which is stupid. But it's not just by month, right? We can do it by week, right? This is Coke's seasonality when it loads here. By week, going back 19 years, right? So you can tell next 3 weeks are good. Then it's kind of shitty for a bit, right? But you can also go by day of week, right? Like you want to see what it's like trading Coke by day, going back to the beginning of July. Well, don't buy it on Friday and hold through Monday. There hasn't been a fucking positive Monday since the beginning of June, right? Or you can go back a little further, right? Like Mondays are bad days for Coke lately. Not always, right? You go back far enough and that's not the case, but the last few months it has been, right? You can also go down hour of day, right? Like what's it like trading Coke by hour since the beginning of July, right? Well, the best hour to own Coke is 11:30 to 12:30, right? The worst hour is the last hour of the trading day. So this gives you a way to look at the seasonal performance of an asset and slice and dice it a bazillion different ways. But it also gets cooler too, because you can exclude data. Like if you want to put every non-election year in this box, you can just look at seasonality for just election years. Or you can just do remove 2008, 2012, 2020 and see what this looks like without those crazy years, right? Or you can just type remove March 2020 and leave everything else, right? So it gives you the ability to filter data and slice it a million ways so you can actually understand it. So this is one of my all-time favorite things. Because it's so simple, right? At least the interface. The calculations are complicated. Oh, I forgot to show you one.
Well, those are the ones where people get gut feelings on them, and they're like, "I swear it's sell on Thursday." Buy, sell in May,
but this is the way
away, and this is proving it.
Yeah. This is how you can prove that. Last thing I forgot to show you here. It's not just price. You want to know when volume was highest on a stock? You can do this by relative volume over 1. You want to know when price was above RSI reading of 70, you can do that, or below an RSI of 30, or the percentage that it was above a 20 period SMA. So there's all kinds of different ways to measure this, by price, by volume, by momentum, right? Like you can pick and choose and kind of understand the seasonality of something, because everything is cyclical in markets, right?
I have one of my most favorite funny guys. He always posts up the chicken broiler charts on futures and how seasonal it is, and it's the same thing with like turkeys and Thanksgiving. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I bet you if you pull up something like lumber or turkey futures or hog futures, right? I don't know the symbols for those, but I bet you it would be a very interesting seasonality chart.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff in the sidebar that I'm going to skip. This thing is called reports. This is corporate financials, earnings, revenue, analyst estimates for both, EPS, things like that. I'm not going to spend time on that. I am going to show you insider transactions. This is
this part.
Yeah, so let's look at my favorite example of Mark Zuckerberg. We all love Mark. This column here, there's a few ways to see this. So this is everything in the sidebar is symbol specific except for watch list, bots, and alerts and trading, right? So this is just Meta, right? And this is all the corporate insiders in Meta and what they're doing with their shares. So scrolling this, hey, Marky Mark, right? Mark is all over this, right? He's always selling shares. I wonder how much he sells. Let's click on his name and find out, right? And this will filter the insider transaction by just Zuckerberg. So you can see he's kind of slowed down, right? Like earlier this year was crazy. 20, 15, $30 million a day, every day for the entire month of February, March, January, basically since like November, right? Since basically beginning of November. This year or last few weeks, he's been selling a little less, 5 to 10 million a day worth of Facebook, right? But this lets you see at this top, his total disposition / acquisition with these bars. The black line in the background is the price at his sales. You can see he's really good at selling highs, right? Compare and contrast to his former partner, Dustin Moskovitz of Asana, right? Dustin is a net buyer of his company, right? Dustin is bullish about Asana. Zuck just wants to build underground bomb shelters, right? And is raising cash for that. So insider trades is really cool because it lets you see what the people with the most knowledge about a business are doing with their shares. There's only one reason to buy. You think it's going to go up. There's a million reasons to sell. So when I talk about this, I always want to warn you, don't pay too much attention to selling. People have bills. Zuck needs a new yacht, right? He's got to sell some shares to pay for his yacht, right? When he's buying shares, pay a lot of attention though, right? Because then there's only one thing he thinks might happen. It's going to go higher. If he's selling, it doesn't mean jack shit. Last thing about this, if you click on read here, it will take you to the SEC filing itself, right? So you can go and read what he filed and see all the individual lots and everything that's part of that transaction.
Are you pulling the data directly from the SEC website?
We use an aggregator to pull, and it's a company that has a machine learning bot that actually reads the filings and standardizes the data, right? So it puts it in a table form. We just switched vendors for that, so I don't know exactly who it is, but it's a little higher quality and it has a little bit more granularity to it. We ditched our old vendor because it was missing an occasional transaction or here, and our QA engineers were always catching it, and we were complaining, and they would go find it and add it, and it was just tiring, right? So now it's like we just fired them and got a new vendor for that. The modular architecture of TrendSpider's data backend makes it really easy to swap vendors. I'll show you all the data library at the end here, so you can see everything that there is. It's extensive.
That's awesome, because I was about to ask. I was like, if you guys are scraping this, like, does the SEC rate limit you?
No, somebody's scraping it. It's not us. They're scraping it. Okay, so next thing. This is one of my all-time favorite things, and in my opinion, this is the most underappreciated thing in TrendSpider. This is called the smart checklist. If you have a system for your trading, let's say your system has, I don't know, 20 conditions in it, 20 things that you care about, right? Things that matter to you in your trading, right? Maybe you want price to be trading above open on every time period, right? Like the 5-minute, 15, 30, 65 daily, weekly, monthly. You want all of those to be trading above where that candle opened, right? To check that, you'd have to look at 7 different charts, right? So just keep that in mind. Maybe you also want to know if there's earnings in the next 10 days, if there's an X dividend date in the next 10 days, if there's been any news about this company at all, if there's been any analyst estimates or reports, if there's any candle patterns forming, if there's anything going on between indicators, right? Let's say you care about some random shit like that. You can build your own smart checklist and put all of the shit you care about in it. And every time you pull up a chart, it's going to recompute that for you, right? So you don't have to check all this shit by hand anymore, right? It's just happening for you as you're browsing the market.
I do this by hand.
Yeah, stop that. That sucks. If you click on the I at the top here, it'll give you a copy and pastable version of it, right? So if you want to copy and paste this and have the full conditions, you can get that too, right? But it's fully automated. It can check anything on any time frame using any data that we have, right? Including custom indicators. Like you could have like custom indicator reading is above 5, right? Yes or no, right? And this template can be used in other places too. And I'm going to show you all of that. That's called visual scripting. But this style of describing the market is how you build scanners, backtest, multi-factor alerts, and so forth.
This is exactly how we do Bart Simpson patterns with rainbow trends. Because when a Bart's printed, everybody's buying late, and we start going through the list. Has the HMA cross? Has the runner bot cross? Has the RSI bot cross? This, and this. Are the colors rotating? And it's like, hey guys, I really want to be bullish, price just pump, but we've got 7 things here saying it's topped. We need to at least hedge and go from there.
Yeah, this will save you an obscene amount of time. Like I only really look at the daily and weekly charts. Mike's smart checklist will keep me informed if it's going up or down intraday.
It'd be really cool if you could oscillate that on a bottom indicator where it shows like percentages. Is it 20% buy, back and forth? So you're like, hey, 90% of my checklist says buy this now.
That's a good idea. Remind me of that after this, and I'll ask Russ about it.
I'm gonna go file the patent real quick, but no.
Good luck with software patents. We almost didn't get it, man. Like we got rejected 5 times and then won an appeal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the appeal internal?
It was a patent office appeal. Yeah, they have like their internal adjudication thing, right? And we didn't think the examiner was being fair, so we appealed it. It was just a last ditch, right? Like I had already given up.
We're this far, might as well have some fun.
Yeah, we might as well try one last time. The lawyer's like, this is your last chance. Software patents are really hard. Software is not technically patentable, right? So you have to like incorporate it with its infrastructure somehow. But anyway. So this is the example of smart checklist. There are a bunch of pre-made ones. right? They can incorporate any conditions you can dream of, right? And they will save you an ungodly amount of time, right? This is a checklist of all 1-minute conditions, right? So in the sidebar also, there's this trading thing. If you have a brokerage account, you can connect your brokerage, trade directly from the platform, and you can have multiple brokers connected, right? So you can switch between them, right? And place orders across any broker that you have connected. We support 33 different brokers right now, and there's more coming. We also have unusual options flow here. Unusual options flow is exactly what it sounds like, but in TrendSpider, we give you a couple scatter plot and other types of charts that you can use, to look at your unusual options flow, right? So there's a variety of visualizations and filters you can apply, right? With strike price and expiry date, and also a tabular output. This is symbol specific, so this is to see. There's another way to view it for the whole market. Right.
There's I always enjoy watching when something on that type of flow upsets Dime and he posts a chart. It's like, hey, this is weird. And then sure enough, something will come out and it's like, well, there you go.
So for some reason that just reminded me of something. I want to just highlight. I'll go back to chart and then I'm going to go down here. Right. We have alerts on your charts. Right. And I want to show you these because they're super cool. Right. And this is something that I use literally every day. Right. And it's one of our most popular capabilities even today. Right. It's one of our first capabilities. Let's say you draw up a chart, draw a trend line, throw an indicator on it. Right. Maybe we throw another line on or something. Right. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Right. And let's say we want to know when price gets close to this bar, this line, because we think it's going to bounce off it and we think we're going to get a bullish trade, or we think it's going to break through it and we think we're going to get a bearish trade. Right, we can right click on this and go to create alert at this line, and this dialog will open. Note, I'm on a daily chart, right? And here we can then say, I am bullish. I don't want to trade short. So I'm going to wait for a touch and a bounce. But I think other people are watching this chart too in the same line, and they're gonna jump ahead of me. So it might not touch the line directly. So I'm gonna give it a buffer zone. And I'm gonna get notified when price is within $1 roughly of this line, right? And I want to know faster, right? I don't want to wait for a daily candle to close. I want to wait for a 15-minute candle to close, right? So I've just created an alert that will watch a moving line. It's diagonal. It's not straight, right? For a touch or a bounce with a buffer zone of $1 on either side of it on the daily time frame that will trigger when a 15-minute candle touches or bounces, right?
So cool. I remember playing, this is one of the first things I played with because I was like, hey, this thing does more than just crosses.
Yeah. And this will work on indicators too. Right. Yeah. And it'll follow this indicator wherever it goes. So you never have to go in and adjust your alert. Right. It just follows it and will let you know. And that's it. Set it and forget it.
What happens if you have an alert trigger and it shows up in your alert history and then the data gets corrected by the exchange?
So it will give you a email that will tell you. If you're running a bot, it's going to stop running. Right. It'll fail the bot and let you know. There are several health checks like that throughout. We're working on improving those because the bot failure rate is close to 7%, which is really high. When people use volume related conditions, because volume is the most common thing that the exchanges will go back and change. So those rewrites, those tick rewrites are like 85% adjusting the volume and not the price. Right, so volume-based stuff like raindrops or VWAP or OBV, things like that will change more than non-volume-based stuff.
Gotcha. That's cool.
So,
that's something I've always fought as well because I've had automated algos on TradingView for a long time, and I've got something that'll only buy and sell on the hourly, and I'll randomly get an alert that it bought at like 10:17, and it's like whoa. And it's them repainting, but there's no alert to tell you like, hey, data change, sorry.
Yeah, TrendSpider also like it will only accept some of their ticks that change the past. Like we've gone through all 170 of them and selected the ones that we think matter. Some of them are like micro adjustments, right? Like we try to only change it if we should, right? There's some cases where it's like relevant to high frequency trading, but it's changing a tick that's in between a high and a low already, so it's not going to change the candle at all, and we'll ignore those.
Okay.
That was one of the hardest things about building this, is like interpreting the fucking ticks. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I showed you guys alerts. I'm going to show you one thing on the top, and then I'm going to go into the really cool stuff. Although this is very cool. This is called a dashboard. And this is a unique thing in TrendSpider that we borrowed from the marketing industry of all places, that lets you build a custom dashboard that contains only what you care about. Right. So I'll just delete a bunch of this shit. Like, I'll leave one chart. Right. So you can add a chart, you can add a watch list, you can add a list of alerts, you can add news feeds, you can add a new row, right? You can add Congress trading here, right? You can add whatever you want and build a screen that's dedicated to only the shit you care about, right? It can be as long and as wide as your monitor will allow. And this can make your life a lot easier, because it's like your command center, right? Everything you care about. You can have an unlimited number of scanners running on this thing, right? So you can have like 20 different scanner widgets, right? We've got like tens of thousands of these created in the month that it's been available. It's a new feature. It's really, really cool. It's an evolution of the idea of a multi-symbol view, where it's not just multi-symbol view, but it's like multi-whatever view.
Yeah.
So I definitely suggest playing with that. And then down here at the very bottom is where the really heavy hitting stuff lives, right? This is where custom scripts live, right? So like, this is a Bollinger thing. This is like all kinds of different indicators in here, right? Some of these are ones I've experimented with. Some of these are, you know, like test code, right? There's also a ton of example code. This is real code from the real system. So if you want to see how TrendSpider detects falling wedges, we actually give you the code for that. Like, we've open sourced half the stuff in the platform, right? So if you want to take this and build your own version of it, you're free to do that. Custom scripting is also very flexible in TrendSpider, because you can use multiple symbols, multiple timeframes, multiple data types, external data, right? And then it'll work on scanners, backtesting, charts, alerts, and throughout the whole smart checklists everywhere. So I always like to show this for the programmers in the house, right? Because you can build the world. It's really whatever you can dream of. Next to that is something brand new. I'm going to full screen this. This is this feature and the two next to it, Stock Market Map, What's Happening Now, and Market Scanner. Those are in a category that we call idea generation. So these are designed to help you find trading ideas in 3 different ways. Stock market mapping is about identifying outliers, right? So you want to find an outlier, something that's weird, right? So this is what it might look like, right? And you configure this. So you say what list you want to look at, and then what the tile size is and what the tile color is, right? In this case, it's market cap for tile size, but it could be EV by sales, right? Or it could be any of these values, right? 7-day change percent, right? And then you can define the color. In this case, price to book value, but we could do price to earnings value, whatever, right? You can generate custom maps, and you can do it using your own custom watch lists. Like, if you want to see a tile map for Kathy Woods's ETFs, right? Here's a tile map of ARK-K, right? And we can change this to be market cap, right? So this is ARK stuff, right? You can build as many of these as you want. You can customize them however you want. And this is good for finding outliers, right? In this case, Roku's an outlier because it's blue. Well, we can just right click on this, go to add to watch list, add it to a watch list. We can also give it a color flag. So now anytime it appears anywhere else, it's going to be orange, right? So this is about discovering ideas, right? By finding outliers. There's also something called a bubble chart, right? So I'll pick a pre-made one. Also about identifying outliers, but here you can have multiple lists, right? So you can have more than one list of symbols, right? And you can have 3 different axes, right? Vertical, horizontal, and bubble size, right? So here it's like, okay, here's an outlier. HTGC is an outlier in this bubble map, a big one, right? So is this one over here, VCSA, and this guy over here, right? And we can just right click on these, add them to a list, and again, do deeper analysis on them. Oh, excuse me, heartburn.
That's cool.
So this stock market mapping is new. It's a new take on an old idea, right? And it's
the
flexible.
Squares your bookmarked ones? The colors?
Yeah, the squares are the ones that I've assigned a color to.
That's
right?
cool.
So those will just show up because you've assigned a color to them. Right. This is NVIDIA. I own NVIDIA, so I have a color on it. Right. You know, I have a weird personal system for my color coding. So that stock market map.
I may or may not relate to that.
Okay. and you can have a bunch of these, right? So you can build up a whole window of these. Always have them at your fingertips. If you ever want to pull them up, it'll remember them. So you just click stock market map, and boom, it's there.
I want to play with this and put all the Rainbow Trends colors on it and
have fun.
That'd be cool.
So next to that is something called What's Happening Now. And this is maybe 6 months old. And it used to be called data flow. So if you see the word data flow in the system or in our documentation, it's for this feature. We renamed it when we realized that the word data flow was scaring everybody away, right? So we named it something a little more friendly. This lets you watch the market in real time, right? You want to see 10% owners of companies or CEOs buying their own stock or government sales or upcoming earnings or earnings surprises, right? Just pick one, click on it, and you get a list, right?
Velocity tracker.
Here's
awesome.
Velocity tracker, right? This is all of Nancy's trades. We can add another one though, right? Let's add where is it? Government sells over 15K. So this is Pelosi, and this is everybody in the government. We can go in here and customize this. Right, so you can add all kinds of different actions. You can say, okay, I want government sells, but I want it to be only Republicans, right? So you can filter that, or only Democrats, right? Filter that. You can change the amount, right? Like, yeah, 15K is great, but I want trades over 150K, right? Filter that down, right? You know, you might want to get rid of selling, right? And might just want to say buys or awards or whatever.
That'd be cool
So
if you could checklist that one too, and you can be like, Pelosi bought, Crenshaw bought.
That's coming.
That's
this data is available in custom scripting. It's not available in checklist scanning yet. That's going to come though.
That would be cool.
Like, each feature has to be built individually. So you can also like add feeds like the CEO buying his own stock, right? That's a flag I love to see, right? I love it when CEOs buy their own stock. But I don't like it when they just buy 10K shares because they think it'll make the market buy it, right? I want them to put real money down. So maybe we'll filter it down by 250K, right? And see how many CEOs are dropping real money on their company, right? These guys are. So this is really cool because you can build your own custom data flows. This is where, like, if you want traditional, unusual options, this is where you can also get that too. Like this is options flow, but for the whole market, not symbol specific. So you can view that as well. And then throughout this, right, you can right click in these color flag, add to watch list, or actually click on the symbol to pull up the chart. And that will also change all the sidebar widgets as well, right? If you have a checklist or whatever, right? So that's what's happening now. If you think about it, stock market map is about finding outliers. What's happening now is about finding things that are happening in real time, right? As they're happening. Right. Market scanner is about searching for specific things, right? So all three of these are idea generation. They're completely different. And market scanner is where I'm going to show you the true power of visual scripting. This is how you make a backtest. This is how you make a smart checklist. This is how you make a trading bot. This is how you build a scanner. This is how you tell TrendSpider about the market, right? And I'm going to zoom in a bit so you guys can see this really clearly. So first thing you want to do is tell it where to look, right? Let's pick the Russell 2000, right? Next thing you want to tell it is, should it look at extended hours data or normal session only? I'm going to leave that normal session. And the current candle is telling it, should it look at the current open candle if the market is open right now, or should it ignore it? The market's closed, so it's not going to matter. But if you're scanning real time during the day, you should have this checked. Next, we're going to tell it what to look for. So we told it where to look and when to look, and then we're going to say what to look for. And there's a lot you can do here. I'm going to show you the easiest way of adding conditions with ChatGPT. SMA 50 is above SMA 200, right? Just type it. It's going to ask ChatGPT to give you the condition. It's going to give you the condition. You don't have to do shit. It's just there, right? So you can build, you can say like whatever you want here, like, I don't know, daily SMA 50 is above weekly EMA 200, right? Like you can kind of get fancy with this. Boom, right? So we've added this condition here, right? And notice two different time frames, two different types of indicators, right? You're comparing them to each other. Next, let's go to condition, add condition. And here we're going to say, you know what, that's cool, but I only care if on the 5-minute chart, there's a hammer. And not just any hammer, a Thomas Bulkowski hammer, right? Then you might say, you know what, I also only really care if its EBITDA this quarter is greater than its EBITDA last quarter by 1% or more, right? And then, you know, it's cool, but I only also care if it's popular in Wall Street bets right now, right? So we'll pick top mention on Wall Street bets today, right? And then we'll be like, oh, and you know, we also only care if there's earnings was within the last 10 days. I hope you're getting the idea here. Like, you can build some super fancy shit this way. Like, this filter lets you filter by news articles, but not just news articles that mention the stock and someone else, like the FBI, right? Or the FDA, like the biotech, right? So you can specify a keyword, right? You can go in here and, you know, be like, that's cool, but only if there was also an analyst upgrade within the last 10 days, right? Analyst action upgrade, right? And then you can add a negative list, right? Then you might say, you know, that's really cool, but I don't want Kathy Woods to own this, right? So we'll select ARC, and then we'll switch this to none of the following, right? So you can build conditions within conditions, within conditions, within conditions, till your eyes roll over in your head and you pass out. It's the most flexible, the most powerful market search tool in the world. Visual scripting is patented, right? You know, nobody else can do this. We spent a shitload of time on it. And it gives you the flexibility to express to a computer a market scenario in the same way that you would express it to a friend. Because think of it, this is how you would explain it to a friend. Daily 50s above the weekly 200. There's a hammer in the 5-minute. There's EBITDA growth, right? Like, it's exactly how you'd explain it to a friend. And that's exactly how you explain it to TrendSpider. So hopefully that landed, right? Like, that ability to explain the market to a computer is very unique.
That is cool.
So
especially with the Chat GPT.
Yeah, that's new, and that's my favorite thing, because like a lot of people hate all those menus, and here you can be like, RSI is above 50, right? And it'll just like do that. You don't have to do anything. So I'm a big fan of that. It made life easier for a lot of people. So this scanner is obviously not going to find anything because I just filled it with complete randomness. So I'll just pick a scanner that I'm pretty sure will find something and run it. Maybe it won't, but
can you make it look for squeezes as well? Like if you that's one of my long-term users, you just hit that in the chat. Can you make it do a squeeze condition automation with like the Chat GPT?
What kind of squeeze?
Like a Squeeze Pro by Simpler Trading? I'm just looking at
we do have Squeeze Pro. It's a paid indicator, so you got to buy it from Simpler Trading. I think I have it, and I believe you definitely can, right? So you do like indicator daily, squeeze, right? There's a go squeeze. Yeah, Simpler Trading. I don't know this indicator that well, so you'd pick something from it, signal active, right? And then it would be active. This is new, by the way. We just added this. It's a new feature in scripting, where instead of generating an indicator, like coloring the chart, drawing lines in the chart, you can actually generate signals, right? And then those signals will appear on the chart, right? As like a little arrow, right? So the TTM Squeeze Pro is brand new. We just finished converting it to TrendSpider JavaScript for Simpler Trading last week. It only became available in TrendSpider like this week, right? And nobody even knows about it until Monday when it's getting announced. But it's the first indicator, the third-party indicator, that takes advantage of that new ability to have signal active or signal not active instead of a value. But yeah, you can definitely scan for squeezes, and you can do it a bunch of ways. Like you can do it the getaway where it's like Keltner channel is within Bollinger Band. I don't know what it would be, but you would just type it or select those conditions, or you can use the squeeze indicator itself.
That's cool.
So with scanning, I just want to highlight something. If you have a watch list in your sidebar, you can select a scanner to be in that watch list spot, right? So you can have multiple scanners open at once in your watch list. You don't have to have that big panel at the bottom. That's just where you build a scanner. Once you build it, you can load it in your sidebar or in your dashboard and never have to open it again.
That's cool.
Next, and we're getting close to the end here, so I'm sure I'm starting to bore some people. But
no, this is not boring, and it's cool stuff, because this is where people are like, oh, it's charting software. No, it does stuff that
more than charting.
We're gonna have to study this, because a lot of people are probably gonna watch this stream on half speed.
Okay, yeah, I do.
It's cool. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, you navigate this stuff so fast, but it's because you're passionate about it and you've got time invested, and it's just cool.
Dude, I stare at it all day. Right? Yeah. Like, if I wasn't flying through this, you should be really worried. So, okay, this is backtesting, right? And this is something that retail investors should do a lot more of, because I hope I don't offend anyone by saying this. 99% of your strategies are terrible. Like, they will never make money long term. And the backtester is a way to tell you that and to help you figure out how to make it profitable. Right. And there's nothing easier than this. When we have a part of our business that's institutional clients. Kathy Woods is a client. ARC uses this backtester quite a bit. They gave us permission to tell people that. Right. There's a ton of other institutions. The one thing they all have in common, the people that pay us big bucks to use TrendSpider, they're paying like $500 a user a month, right? They spend all their time in the backtester, right? Like it is the one thing that is so unique about TrendSpider that they can't even do it themselves if they have engineers coding. This is well beyond anything Bloomberg could do. Like, this is truly best in class, also patented. In the backtester, you define your entry condition on the left, right? So that's this. This is the Turtle Traders Danchin channel crawl strategy, by the way. That's the bot that I'm running. If you see me posting on Twitter about a bot I'm running, this is the conditions for it. These are the exact entry and exit conditions. I'm running it on TQQQ, not SPXL, but I'll show you what it looks like on TQQ. It's been getting destroyed, so don't copy this. But when you give it your entry and exit conditions, and you push run, it will calculate what would have happened if you traded in that way, going back to inception. In this case, it's 26 months, but I can make it go further, and I can also define specific dates to test between. Right, and when I run this test, it calculates what would have happened had I traded exactly like this, following my rules to a T, right? And then I can understand that strategy and improve it. The first thing we're gonna look at is up here in the top right corner, the tabular data. This is giving you all the statistics that you would care about, right? And we built this for one of our institutional clients, right? So a lot of these are things like Sortino ratios, CAGRs, right? These are like hedge fund ratios that you get here, right? And when it highlights something in green, it's telling you that it doesn't suck, but not that it's good. If it highlights something in red, it's telling you this sucks and it will never make money long term. So keep an eye on that, right? If you see red backgrounds here, we called it a no-go flag. Just abandon it or work to improve it. Don't trade it. If you see green, don't blindly trade it, but it has potential, right? Cool. Yeah, so, and that's based on mathematical certainty. Like, if you see red here, it means you trade this enough for a long enough period of time, you're going to zero and you're going to lose all your money, right? Like, the math just does not work out long term, even if it might look profitable in the short term. So then you have these charts, right? This blue area is your equity curve of your buy and sell strategy, right? So this is the results of all your trading. If you trade 1 unit per trade and you never run out of money, right? Those are the two core assumptions that underpin the backtester. Most backtesters, not just this one, but that's important to know. At the bottom, you have 41% winners, 59% losers, yet it's still beating buy and hold over a long enough period of time. And these dots represent the distribution of all the trades. So if you have like a cluster, like a big cluster here, and like one trade over here, you know, an outlier is throwing you off. Here it's pretty evenly distributed, so it's not bad. If you click on the chart legend here, you can add stuff to the chart, like our drawdown, right? Like the drawdown of the asset. And if you hide the equity curve and check positions, you can see when you were in a trade in the buy and hold line, and if that trade made money, right? Green is a trade that made money, red is a trade that lost, gray is you're chilling on the bleachers, right? So this is a way to actually visualize what happened within your strategy. And it's really useful. Like, I look at this a lot and I'm like, wow, I just get chopped at highs, right? Like, I just get murdered at the highs all the time. Right. So then I go in my strategy and I maybe try to filter out buying at the highs by saying, don't buy if RSI is over 80 or something like that. Right. But this gives you a lot of info that you can use to then go in and optimize what you're doing. Right. This chart does. This chart gives you even more info. Right. And this is a good example too. Right. So this is proprietary. You won't find this anywhere else. And this is called the Price Behavior Explorer. And what we have here is a strategy that ran for 3 years of historical data and traded 271 times. You can see that at the bottom, with a mean trade return of 0.22%. So how do we optimize this, right, to make it perform better? It's a good question, right? You know, a lot of people wouldn't know where to start. This gives you a place to start. But before you can do that, you got to understand how to read this. At the bottom, the axis is candles from entry. Your entry is this red vertical line. So right here is 41 candles after entry, 40 candles after entry. The average return at this point is like 6.5%, right? So the green cloud and the red cloud are what you want to pay attention to. In fact, I'm going to hide these lines so you can just see these two clouds, right? The red cloud represents every trade that ended at the end of the trade with a monetary loss. And the green cloud is every trade that ended profitably. The overlap between these two is really important, because what can you do right around here, right? This is where you put your stop loss, right? You put your stop loss about 1.85% down from entry, right? And what do you do up here? Well, some trades get up here, right? But then they tend to pull back. And if you add this view to it, you can see what that looks like. The triangles indicate closure, right? The dots indicate just prices moving. So you can see that there's like trades that made it this far, right, and are down here. So you might say, you know, if a trade gets up above 14%, take profit, right? So we can just go down here, click add stop loss, click add take profit. What did we say? 1.85 for the stop loss and what is it, like 13% for the take profit? No, we returned 52% here. Let's see if we do better, right? Run it and give it a minute to process. And we do a lot better. You see how that changed?
Boom.
Right? Yeah. And all that we did is we eyeballed the Price Behavior Explorer chart, and we said we're going to capture some profits up here, and we're going to cut our losses down here, because there's no point. Anything that goes lower than that always ends in a loss. This is the easiest way to optimize a strategy in the world. And it's unbelievably flexible. You saw how easy that was to do, right? Like, it didn't take any real skills. I didn't even have to look at these numbers, right? I just had to look at a couple charts and add some stop losses to it, right? But this is something that anybody can do, right? So you can have multiple technical entries. You can also, if you generate signals outside of TrendSpider, like maybe use Glassnode for on-chain analytics or something, you can upload a list of those signals as timestamps and see how they would have actually performed, right? Wow. So before you depend on some third-party system, you can test it, right? And if you like a strategy here, right, and you want to see if it'll work on other assets better or other timeframes better or anything like that, you also have this new feature called Variance Explorer on the top right here. So I'll save this. And the Variance Explorer allows you to select multiple strategies if you want, right? Multiple timeframes if you want, right? Like this one was built for 30 minutes, so maybe we'll just test it on 15, 30, and 45. Multiple depths, right? Like I want to go back far though, so I'm not going to do that. And multiple symbols, right? So you can add like a bunch of leverage ETFs, since that's what this is built in, right? Maybe we'll add one more, Lab D. That's going to be a weird outlier. And when I hit compute here, it's going to create like a bunch of different permutations of these, right? Every combination of them. And it's going to do all the math, right? And then I can be like, hey, right, this is net performance of my strategy. Where did I do best? Well, I actually did best on TQQQ 15-minute, right? Not 30-minute like this was designed for. right? And down here, I have a bunch of these scatter plot charts that I can adjust, right? So if I want to look at this data in a variety of ways, like using any of those backtesting metrics, I can do that, right? So this is really cool. This is an institutional grade thing, right? You won't find this ever in any retail tool. The only people I've seen who actually have learned how to use this are full-time professional quant traders who work at a hedge fund, right? But we give it to everybody, right? And if you want to play with it, I definitely recommend it because it gives you a way to like explore a strategy across a basket of symbols and
you have no idea how frustrating this is because I've spent thousands of hours doing this by hand. And this is like the original like origin of like rainbow theory and rainbow trends is I was like, there's like 200 indicators all these people on crypto Twitter and all these websites talk about, and these guys are clearly not making right signals. So I literally back tested like 200 indicators because I was like, if the indicators are real, they'll back test. And I did it all by hand, and I came back and said like 2% actually have signal. The other 98% look amazing in hindsight.
2% is good.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, because people asked me like, what was it? I was like, man, like the outlier of all of them, like the only one that was like in everyone's mind, like knows about it and actually backtest well was like RSI. I was like, everything else was like really off the map. And the amount of bots that I do like on the side, like the amount of time frames, like you're showing it here, 30, 15, all these things, it's like, son of a, because I have to do all that by hand. But that's awesome.
So this is new. It's computationally very heavy on the background. But it's one of those capabilities. Like if I want to level the playing field for real, right? Like this is the kind of stuff it takes. You can download this.
You're gonna have to find somebody who can show this. Like,
yeah, that's been a challenge. Training sales guys here is not easy. It takes 6 months to learn the product.
Oh, for sure. Because yeah, this is.
So, a couple final things, and then I will finally be free to be shut up, and I'll take whatever questions anybody has. Once you've built a strategy in TrendSpider, right, you can take the back test and convert it to a forward test by launching it as a bot, right? So launching it as a bot means launching it as a bot. It takes your strategy and runs it in real time with real market data as it's happening. And a bot can act as a bidirectional position aware alert. So it can let you know, it can post to Twitter, it can post to Discord, it can trade on your behalf using our signal stack and routing stuff. It can do all kinds of stuff. And bots are awesome if you have a technical strategy that you just want to trade and you don't want to get in your own way. Here's an example of what a bot looks like. This is a real bot that's trading real money in a real Schwab account, right? That's following that exact strategy I just showed you, right? The Donchain channel crawl thing, right? I just launched it yesterday. It entered immediately, lost money, chopped up. Entered immediately, lost money. So far it's 0 for 2, right? But I didn't do anything here. It's doing it all on its own.
That's amazing because it's hard to connect backends, like for normal users.
Yes. And I can look at my bots here. So I can open a sidebar. This is the TQQ bot that's running. If I click info on it, it's going to tell me the last signals it issued and its current status. The bot's active, but it's not currently in a position.
Is that position verified that the exchange took it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's not in a position right now, right? But when it was in a position, these trades were real. I saw them show up in Schwab's website.
That's cool.
Right. Schwab killed their connection to them for 6 months and just turned it back on last week. So when they bought TD Ameritrade, they kicked everybody off, all the third-party vendors that could process orders, and they made us reapply for access. And I know that they rejected most of our competitors, but for some reason they let us back in.
That's cool.
So I'm pretty stoked about that. So that's the gist of it. That's the product. Obviously, we kept it really high level, and everything that we've gone through, there's layers and layers of nuance. There's also a lot that we did not cover. right? We didn't cover inside Wall Street bets. We didn't cover short volume or fear and greed or relative performance too much or fundamentals. Like there's or Fred data. But I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, and if anyone wants to see anything else or see something again, happy to show you.
So you guys launched the indicator marketplace. How do you navigate that when you're exploring the indicators that are in your default channel or default?
It's integrated, right?
It
So
is?
yeah, so if I type magic trends or like something of mine, right? Yeah, you'll see this little icon. It looks like a star. That means it's from the marketplace. If I click on this, it takes me to the marketplace,
That's
right?
cool.
And I click add to TrendSpider. So this is new also, tying it in here so that it's easy to find things. Like if you type simpler trading in here, right, you'll see both that I have the indicator, right? And then this is the link to the marketplace for it. So it's pretty straightforward.
That's cool. So question for chat, and I think I saw you had a daily Bitcoin one. He wants to know what's your TrendSpider view on Bitcoin right now?
Like what I think Bitcoin's going to do as in price action. I think Bitcoin's going to the fucking moon. Right?
There we go.
I think it's going to continue to go up because the math forces it, and it's naturally deflationary, right? Like people lose coins, right? They lose their wallets, right? So the supply is always dwindling because there's no inflation in it, or there's minimal inflation right now, and there will be no eventually. And if I mean, I'll show you my Bitcoin chart. I think it's Coinbase Bitcoin. Yeah. So I'll show you what I think is going on with Bitcoin. This is my personal opinion. I think we're in a bull flag in the middle of a rally, right? And we're going to ride this top part of this channel for a while. And I don't know how high it's going to go, but if you look at where this channel is terminating in like October, November on my chart, right, that's 6 figures, right? So, and we have an election coming on, right? And both of the candidates running, right, like not to get political, both of them are going to spend money like crazy, right? So that will cause inflation, which will make non-inflationary things like Bitcoin and gold, right, all become more valuable. Also, stocks will go up too because the companies are just as valuable and the money they're valued in has become less valuable. So I think it's going up, right? I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin, right? I keep it in a safe. I don't even keep it online because I have no interest in ever selling it. I want to give my my treasure to my son one day, right? And he can buy his first house with it.
Yeah.
So I'm a bull. I love Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
But I'm not a maxi, right? Like I don't think Bitcoin will replace the dollar, right? I don't think you're going to be buying candy bars with crypto. Like, and I think that stuff's nuts. Like, it's just an asset to trade that is scarce. It has value because it's scarce, and people think it's value. Makes it no different than the U.S. dollar, right? Except it's actually scarce and dollars aren't. All right.
That's one of the videos I watch. It's a guilty pleasure is to watch the people that go and make these videos where they go into Starbucks and they're like, I just bought a cup of coffee with Litecoin after struggling at the counter for like 5 minutes. Like, this is great.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Like, my wife is never going to go buy groceries with Bitcoin. Like, even if she could, why would she? She has a debit card and it works just fine.
Yeah. Do you guys you guys can trade with exchanges? Can you trade with crypto exchanges as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So if you go to TrendSpider.com, or I'm sorry, signalstack.com/brokers, a list will come up, and this is everybody that's integrated, right? There's the same list is on TrendSpider's website somewhere too. I just don't have the URL memorized. There's a ton of crypto exchanges here, right? There's Binance, BingX, BitGet, Bitmark, BitMEX, Blockchain, Bybit, Coinbase, Capital.com, right? Gemini, all the big ones are here, right? Femex, KuCoin, Kraken, Woox.
Glad you guys added Kraken.
Yeah, Kraken was hard.
I
API.
love Jesse Pro.
Yeah, but their API. If you ever talk to them, tell them to fix his API.
Yeah, I actually got bit on that with a bot. They changed the API on the closes or on the sells, and I didn't get any notification, and my bot ran up like 200 something limit orders, and I was like, whoa, I couldn't cancel them, and I was like, learned that the hard way.
That will happen. Of all of these guys, Kraken and Robinhood have by far the worst APIs. But the difference is Robinhood doesn't advertise that they have an API, and you kind of have to reverse engineer their app to figure it out. So they know it's shit and they're not promoting it. And Kraken's promoting it knowing it's shit. So, that's my opinion. But yeah, most of these are official connections done with the broker's consent. Robinhood's the only one we've reverse engineered because everybody's reverse engineered Robinhood. Interactive Brokers and Schwab put us through the absolute ringer. Like Interactive put us through a 9-month due diligence. They wanted to check our code, right? They wanted to look at our books, like they wanted to make sure that this was a solid integration. So I'm really proud of the fact that we're integrated with them. And it's not just integrated with IB. You can actually buy Signal Stack from IB, right? They're a reseller of it. So if you go to their research subscriptions, you can buy Signal Stack directly from them and pay for it with your IB balance.
That's cool because I remember when I was looking at these when you guys were first like beta testing Signal Stack, I was like, how the hell did you get Interactive Broker on there? Maybe
I gave a lot of massages. I flew around their office and I gave back rubs to everybody.
There we go.
But this is really cool, right? Like Signal Stack is plugged right into TrendSpider. So if you have Signal Stack, you have TrendSpider. Manual trading's free on all of these exchanges. You can have them all connected at the same time.
That's so cool. That's real cool.
What else?
Anybody from the chat, hit it up and I'll read it out. Guys are still going through this. We've been up for a while. This is awesome though. I'm still like, this is one of the things like you guys fly through this so fast. And
I have to, man. Like,
oh no, well no, you're an expert at it.
Oh, how long would it take if I didn't? Like...
Oh yeah, that too. But it'll be cool. I'm gonna try to clip. It'll take me a while, but I'll clip all this up for little tech tips of how to do certain things because this is awesome though. Trying to think what else. Can you guys detect single prints?
What's a single print?
It's where they have like the inefficient, where like the candles are not that many orders are getting executed in like a certain. I guess that's kind of what your raindrops do. But there's some people that will trade that and like it's
it's like a dash.
Yeah, it's like a
yeah. There's a way to do that. You would in the scanner you would just say something like condition price. I use hotkeys here. Daily close is equal to price daily open, right? And that is exactly a dash.
That's cool. My first question Fletch asks is, when does Rainbow Trends integrate with TrendSpider? We're working on it, sir.
We are working on it. There's Rainbow Trends I'll give you props, dude. Like we obviously see a lot of indicator code, right? We're currently converting almost 30 different indicators for different developers, right? It's a constant thing that we do. Rainbow is actually complicated in the background.
I apologize.
like no, don't apologize. Like it has actual logic, and most of them honestly don't. Like most of them are, you'd be shocked. I've seen indicators sold for $300 that are 60, 40, 20 lines of code, right? Like they do literally nothing. I've seen an indicator sold that was literally RSI with like a multiplier by ATR, and they were charging $50 a month for it, right? Like it's literally scamming people because nobody knows what the code is. So you can just make it show lines on a chart and say it's an indicator. Your stuff's legit. And that's why we're investing in making it possible to bring it on. But it's like right now, it's just too complicated. Like there's a couple things that we don't support that you need.
Yeah, I remember, and I appreciate. I felt bad because the first time I was talking to your Russ and the other computer engineers, I was like, guys, I apologize. I wrote this thinking no one would ever touch it again, and we started getting to those initial conversations, and they're like, how much data do you want? I was like, I want all of it. I'm like, what do you mean all of it? I was like, you guys paid for all the data, right? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, you have it? I was like, I want all of it. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, this algorithm goes all the way to back in time to learn the trend. And I was like, I'll take if you've got data back to 1980, I'll take it. And,
yeah.
They're like, we've
so
never
for those watching, the thing holding up Rainbow coming to TrendSpider, like we're ready to convert the code. But the thing holding it up is in scripting, you can only get like, I think it's like 500 candles at a time. and the rainbow indicator needs like 20,000. Right. And that's actually on the back end a really complicated thing. It involves data pipelines and data storage and infrastructure and networking. So it will happen. I promise it will. But my guess is probably not for a bit.
Yeah, I understand. It's a weird one because it was even built like in the environment of like TradingView, and I just pushed it as far as TradingView would let me. So it's built as far as I can take it.
So their architecture is different, right? You know, like they're when you write a script on TradingView, and the back end is compiling it, right? So it becomes a binary executable on their end. And that is not something you can really do with JavaScript. It's part of the trade-off, right? Like you get flexibility, but the execution has to be interpretive, which means it's going to be a little slower, right? And you're going to have to, you know, do stuff to funnel data into it. It's complicated. You know, I'm really happy we didn't do their architecture because it has a lot of other problems. Yeah. But it has some advantages too, and you know, that's one of them.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to rewrite with your guys the liquidity calculations. I frankly ran past their calculation time limits because it's calculating all of the positions where the liquidations should occur, but it's like 1,400 lines of code to do it. But back to questions. Nexus, one of my favorite OGs from Rainbows. Do you use time-based algorithms, any engines in your product, or vortex math based 8geo for your pattern recognition, or is it more built like a harmonic finder finding fib diagonal lines?
That's a wonderful technical question that if I answer, I'm probably going to get wrong. Can I follow up and answer that?
For sure.
I don't want to give you the wrong answer.
And maybe that's also bait to get Russ in front of a camera.
He won't turn the camera on, but
maybe we get audio.
We once like 3 years ago convinced him to do a Twitter space, right? And it was awesome. But after that, he's like, I'm never doing that again.
What quantifies a valid auto-generated trend line, and is the function with multiple time frames aligning? That's a good one. When you're hunting the auto trend lines, is it hunting multi-time frame, or is it just...
So if you turn multi-time frame on, it will hunt multi-time frame. What determines a trend line? That's a wonderful question that nobody ever asks. So I'm happy somebody asked that. A trend line is determined by the advanced settings here. And identifying trend lines is a 3-step process, really 4. The first step is defining the rules, right? So these rules are in 2 places. One, it's up here. Do we want to draw wick to wick or body to body? Important, it'll change it. Rule 2, do we ignore or do we respect gaps in price action? Respecting gaps means never drawing a line where the point 1 and point 2 are separated by a gap. And you can define the size of that gap, right? So if it's set to ignore, it will still draw the line connecting those points. If it's set to respect, it will not. All right, so that's the first set of options. You kind of define the high-level rules. Next step, and I'm going to turn indicators off. Next step, this is how we get to the first step in analysis, right? This part. By the way, you see how these are curved, right? This is also a very unique thing about TrendSpider. These lines are drawn on a linear scale. I switched to a log scale. The scale changed. The lines are actually still straight, though. They're just looking curved because the scale is different. We're the only platform in the market that handles log scale properly. We put a lot of time into this, right? This curvature allows you... I'm going to show you guys something that I'm sure is completely off topic here. But this is like a...
This is why we're here, sir. We don't want the basic interview. Hi, Dan. What's your favorite color?
Okay,
this
so,
is awesome.
so this is a trend line, a random trend line drawn on a linear scale, right? The scale is even, goes up by $10 per tick. When I add log scale,
how the hell?
The scale has changed, right? The line is the same, the scale has changed, but watch what happens when I add another line here with the same points, right? I'm going to add another line here.
What?
This line was drawn on a log scale. See how they will flip? They'll become concave or convex depending on which scale it is.
Wait a minute. So are the other charting softwares wrong?
Yes. Yep, they're doing log scales completely wrong. It's insane. I don't understand how they can get away with it because, like, algebra 101.
They're just
Right,
they're just changing the endpoints.
Yeah.
How the-
Yeah,
But-
they're actually just keeping the line and the angle the same regardless of the scale, right? So like the endpoints are the same, the line just doesn't curve,
wait a
right?
minute. Yeah, you're that. Well,
So-
that just killed my mind because
Yeah.
I'm just now thinking about all the trend lines that do not curve when I flip between log and non-log, but I know the position
They should curve.
changes.
They
So
should
I'm
curve.
curious what the endpoint is. If they're trading if it's drawing a ray, it's got to be choosing the endpoint at the end of the candle.
I'll show
forward,
you
right?
exactly what it does, right? Like this line is connecting this endpoint to this endpoint, right? So this is on log scale. This is not a great chart for it. I need to find one with a longer time period so it's just more visible, right? So, okay, we'll connect this endpoint to this endpoint, right? And we'll put an arrow here and we'll clone the arrow and put it over here too, right? So that's linear scale. Now it's a log scale. I'm going to connect it here, right? This is doing it right, right? On other platforms, it's going to go like, it's just going to be a straight line going this way. It's crazy.
Did you guys
you should
nail
try
this initially, or did you have to?
Yes.
You did initially.
No, because Russ had spent so much time in this space. He knew he was like, this is one thing that drive me nuts about eSignal, right? I tried to fix it at TradingView. They didn't agree with me, right? So they left it the way it was, right? And I'm gonna fix it here finally.
I didn't even think it was curved.
Yeah. I use the hell out of this though, because like, let me find like a drawdown, like something that's been pulling back really hard, maybe Asana or something. Yeah. So like when you're looking for breakouts, right? Like I didn't draw that precisely, right? But when you're looking for breakouts on something like this, right? Like, look at that, right? You can't even draw this trend this way. Right, like look at how different they are. So if something hasn't broken out yet, like if this price action hadn't happened here, it was just on this candle, I would put both of these lines on this chart and wait for them both to break out before I would buy this, right? Because you can see what's happened here, right?
Yeah.
It broke out of this one and then it pulled back and it's now, teetering around this one. Well, not the best example, but I think you get the point.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. But back to trend lines, because I do want to make sure to explain this. So step one is to identify all of these lines, the possible trend lines that might exist, right? Up to 2000 and then it stops. How does it do that? Right? Well, you have to tell it, right? And you do that by modifying the base points here. This is step one. And these numbers have to be odd, except for the last two, right? And these are the distance between 0.1 and 0.2 for it to draw a trend line. So it will only draw lines by connecting highs that are 11 candles or more apart to other highs. If I change this to something else, this whole thing will change, right? And this is set on a time frame basis. So this is daily. Like let's say if I make this 20, you're going to see a bunch of lines just disappear here in a second. See that? There's less of them. If I make this 5, now there's going to be a whole lot more of them, right? It might even freeze. Look at that. That's insane, right?
Cool.
So that's step one. It's actually up to the user to define the universe of trend lines that they want to start with, right? Step two is lines here. This is a filter that removes lines that are too far away from current price action at the current termination point to be relevant ever, right? So we set this as a multiple of the 14 period ATR. So it's set to 5, right? 8, depending on the time frame. That's how we get from here to here, right? We've now filtered out a bunch of lines. And then how do we get from there to here, right? That's where the formulas come in, right? Each of those 2000 lines we identify has variables tied to it. Hits, how many times it's touched the line, points, how many times it's been part of a series of higher highs or higher lows. Points 2x, bigger higher highs, bigger higher lows, bounce up, bounce down, up, peak down, right? Length, violations, volume, all these variables are tracked for every one of those 2,000 possible lines. And then you can define a formula that filters them, right? This one looks for lines that have peaks up minus violations divided by length, right? So the ratio of violations to peaks divided by the length, right? That line is this red line right here. You can tell by the color codes, right? Like I can change this and maybe it's this one. It's one of these. Oh, you know what? I didn't hit apply. That's why, right? So yeah, it's this one right here that's causing that line. So these color codes help you identify and develop your formulas, right? And you can go ahead and delete these and create your own. And you can do math in these. You can do calculus in this. Like it supports sin and log and all kinds of mathematical functions. So you can build your own analysis. It's not my style, and I don't tell it what the right way to draw a trend line is. That's up to you.
Is this something you see the institutional investors backtest as well or use?
This is literally they're the only people who use this.
Really?
I think I've seen maybe one retail guy who's like this super nerdy, brilliant dude. Smart guy, awesome trader. I think he's the only human I've ever seen use this. Right.
Is theirs the same? You mentioned it's like $500 per user. Is their version of TrendSpider different?
It has it's mostly the same. It has more collaboration features for teams.
That's cool.
It supports professional data entitlements. So if you're a pro, right, you can get pro data. And it has very high limits on how many alerts and bots and things like that you can run at one time. But otherwise, it's mostly the same, right? We're about to make some changes to the plans. Like we've looked at the data, right? What do people use, right? So like uploading custom data is going to become an advanced and enterprise only feature. There's a few things like that that are going to be taken away from the lower plans. But we know that people on the lower plans don't use those things anyway, right? And they're kind of expensive to run, and that's how we did the math. Like we want to craft it so that institutions buy the expensive plan, right? Because then they can subsidize the product for everybody else. And I want this to be affordable. I don't want retail guys like you paying $500 a month to use TrendSpider. Like that wouldn't make any sense. So you know, it's too close to Bloomberg at that point. Like, you know, it's kind of insulting to make the claim of trying to democratize things and then to charge so much. So we try to pick the features that are so complex that a retail user is very unlikely to use them and put them on the higher plans because the only people that buy them are institutions, right? And they're the only ones that would need those features. The primary thing that drives them to not buy the retail plans is the data entitlement, obviously, and the collaboration stuff, right? And collaboration's an area we're investing more in. We may expose some of that to retail. Like a lot of it's exposed already. You can share scripts, you can share strategy, you can share scanners, you can share watch lists, right? You can share all kinds of stuff with each other. But like you can't work together on the same chart at the same time, like a Google Doc, right? Yeah. That kind of stuff's reserved for institutions, which have teams. Most retail people don't have teams. So I want to show you guys one thing since we're on this, because this is super fucking important, and I completely forgot about it earlier, and it's definitely worth showing you guys. Do you see this vertical line? Goes top to bottom on February. This is called the truth in analysis timestamp. This is how you know TrendSpider is not bullshitting you and repainting you. It's telling you exactly what price action was used to identify these trend lines. And it's the price action between this line on the left and this line on the right, right? Everything to the right and left of these two lines was not part of this analysis, right? So if you want to refresh the analysis, you just click refresh. And now it's taking a fresh look at this chart, right? And giving you a new set of trends on it. It's meant to mimic a human. You're not going to redo your chart every time you open it. Why would TrendSpider, right? It's going to redo it when it makes sense to redo it. And that's when you tell it to. Otherwise, it locks the analysis in place, and that keeps it honest with itself, right? And keeps you honest with yourself, right? You know that it didn't just come up with this and take current price action in. You know exactly when that analysis took place. So you can depend on it, and you can see, is it playing out well after the fact? Like, let's look at one like J&J, you know, like the last time this analysis was done here, right? In May 9th. right? So it did bounce off this trend line. It broke below this and bounced off this, right? Like there's some validity to this, right? Maybe it's not perfect, but you can at least see how good it is. And this gives you a chance to go and tweak your settings. Because if you go and edit this right now, it's not going to refresh this line, right? It's going to reanalyze this price action here. So you can then look at this price action here and see if you're getting the results you want. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, this is cool.
So, the only time that this will automatically update is if it's like a year in the past, right? And at that point, you'll know because this will be red instead of yellow, right? So red means it's now in auto update mode. The line is too far in the past. This is actually the same reason that Rainbow doesn't work on TrendSpider, because of the history, right? It'll run out of history and then it won't be able to draw the lines in the past unless you manually go and zoom out and pull that data. So that's why after about like 1,000 candles or something, right, this will turn red and just start updating in real time until you refresh it to lock it again.
That's cool. Is this logic similar for the heat maps that you guys have?
Yeah. Heat maps is based on trend line detection, right? So it's very similar logic. Heat maps, however, is based on multiple time frames. So we're on daily. This heat map takes weekly, daily, and weekly, daily, and 4 hour into account. It's the time frame you're on and the two on the outside of it, right? The two closest time frames, one up, one down. And it attempts to identify a path of least resistance. Let's zoom in a bit, right? Red areas, excuse me, red areas are areas with a lot of trend lines in that area on these various time frames, right? And dark areas are areas without a lot of trend lines. So the way you read this is it'll be easier for price to move through the darker area than the red area, right? It's not like rocket science. We consider this to be experimental, but it is what it is.
This is the one that drew me in when I first got access. I started playing with this because it was painting what I consider like order blocks, like very similar to like what Rainbow Trends paints. So I was like, and I was trying to like on paper backwards engineer like what you guys had come up with. I was like, this one's
I'll tell you exactly how it works. Like you don't have, you could have asked. We believe in radical transparency. What this does, imagine a chart with a grid. You can kind of see the boxes on the grid in the red, right? And every time a trend line passes through a box on that grid, it gets a little more red, right? So the more lines that pass it, the redder it is, and the redder all the boxes below it if it's under price action, or above it if it's above price action. That's it.
That's
like
cool.
It's not that complicated.
Can you pull up Bitcoin on this one?
Yeah.
So I want to look at your bear flag or your bull flag.
Yep. There you go. And let me refresh this. So here's what it looks like with current updated analysis.
That's cool.
Sorry. The one of the things that's really screwed up with heat maps is they do not support log scale, right? So that's one of the reasons why it's going to look all weird. If I'm in log scale and I turn heat maps, like this is definitely buggy in here. Yeah, so if I'm on log scale and I try to turn on a heat map, it won't do it because it's on log scale. But if I'm on regular scale and I have a heat map and I flip to log scale, it will leave it on the screen. That's a bug that we just haven't gotten around to fixing yet. So if you run into that, you have to change timeframes or symbols for it to go away.
Cool.
It's a rare thing. That bug happens once a month, so it's like not high on our priority list because we track every time something goes wrong.
Oh, that's cool.
So
keep the guys busy.
It keeps 3 engineers busy full time just fixing bugs. That's all they do is fix bugs. I wouldn't want to be them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's cool though. No, I appreciate showing that. And if you guys have anything else left in the chat, I think we're gonna get pretty close to wrapping up. And I got one last thing I'm gonna close with because I want to, if you don't mind, if you could show your YouTube rap song, because the story behind this one I think is cool because nobody
in the charting software was dropping like the mixtape of 2020, but you guys did this, and I was like, how the hell did you guys find animators, let alone someone who can rap about chart markets and it not be tacky? It's like,
I will not tell you where I found a rapper. But I will tell you that he's a Reddit Wall Street Bets ape.
that's awesome.
Right. And he got really into this. Right.
Oh,
Like
obviously.
all I did, he's like, dude, please hire me. I want to do this project so bad. I will give you the best fucking song ever. He barely charged anything. Like he charged like a couple grand to do the rap song. Right. He wrote all the lyrics. And all I gave him a list of keywords. Right. So I was like, mention Elon Musk, mention Trump, mention this, mention a Lamborghini. Right. Like mention this stuff, mention jumbo shrimp. Right. So he did that. And he wrote the lyrics. And the guy called me like 2 a.m. one weekend. And he's like, dude, I just was up all night writing your lyrics. I need to send them to you right now. Right.
So cool.
So it was super cool. And I read them. I didn't change anything. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Just go. Right. So like the next morning he had the rap song. Like he was up all night rapping. It was fucking crazy. And then we hired an animation studio, Cough Animation. They're based in Istanbul. Right. And I spent a obscene amount of time trying to find the right animators for it. And it just happened to be that their owner was a big crypto trader. So he got really into it too. Right.
That's
So it's
cool.
just like getting lucky, getting the right people involved. And I think it came out really awesome.
No, it shouldn't be possible. Like I spent 6 months trying to get a Rainbow Trends ad, and we were struggling with the videographer or the animators because they couldn't wrap their heads around like, how do we make rainbows and whales and trading not tacky? But that one was awesome.
Have you seen the country song? We did the country
We're
song
going
too.
to now.
The country song's The Perfect Bull Trap. It's a love song about a stock.
You guys need to keep
do
these
you want me to
going.
play it, or do you want to play it?
Go play it. They're looking at your screen right now, so go ahead and play it.
Will it sound good coming through? Like, I don't know.
I won't catch your audio. I can play the country music. I can play the audio for it.
Okay, yeah, if you
what was the title? A perfect bull trap.
So the rap song's way better, right? But it's called A Perfect Bull Trap by TrendSpider, or Rich with a $sign. I want to make more of these, man. I just don't have time. Like, there's so much fun to make.
Do you have to like have a board meeting and like, hey guys,
we don't have a board, so no.
Hey Russ, I got an idea for a rap song. That's awesome.
It was like the perfect time for that. The rap song is, the video, like, I still listen to this in my car all the time.
Why not? Oh, that's actually a good question. How do you like the Cybertruck?
It's cool. Yeah, I only have one complaint. Only one, and it's not something that they can fix. It gets way too much attention, bro. Like I took my son to his Taekwondo practice the other day in it, and I come out after dropping him off, and there's like a gaggle of 20 teenagers dancing around it and like taking pictures with it, and that's endless. There's always somebody trying to pose with it. People like honk at you on the road. The Elon haters will flick you off, and everyone else will like give you a thumbs up. It's an interesting experience driving one around. As a vehicle, despite some of the questionable design decisions they made, like the rear visibility is shit, right? Like I definitely don't like that. For a high-tech vehicle, right, that's supposed to be like, very modern, there's literally one USB port in the cabin, right?
What?
Like, why? And it's in the glove box, right? Like, good luck plugging anything into that. It's really weird. And there's a thumb drive in it, right? So you got to disable your cameras if you want to plug in your phone, right, with a wire. So they've made some really weird decisions with it. But overall, I give it a 9 out of 10. Like, it's fucking incredible. It's so much fun to drive. The steer by wire is hard to describe. Like, you turn it a centimeter and you're doing like a full turn. Like, it's so sensitive. I've never felt connected to the road in the same way before. even in like a Model S or like a Model Y or an X or another Tesla, right? Like it's nowhere near the same driving experience, and it becomes like muscle memory, right? So
Yeah.
like I actually really struggle to drive my wife's truck now. Like if I get in her Ford, she's an Explorer, like I have to turn the wheel like 3 times to turn, and that doesn't feel natural at all anymore.
I naturally put one arm at the top of the steering wheel. When I see that the steering wheel at the Tesla, it's like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah, the wheel sucks. I can't drive with my knees. That drives me
Yeah.
crazy. But I do love the Cybertruck.
That's awesome. My wife hates them with a passion, and I was like, I'm gonna get one, and she's like, no, you're not. They're awful, blah blah. And I was like, I want it more because you hate it. She's like, just wait till they make a more normal truck. I was like, wifey, if Elon makes Elon makes a more normal truck, I want the crazy one. Like I want the pyramid. I want the power of the pyramid. And
Yeah, I want people to want to like put their groceries away in my car. Like,
the thing that's scaring me is they're starting to polish them to a mirror finish.
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't wait to be blinded on the road by a ray of sunshine like that. But
yeah, so I think there's two types of people who get a Cybertruck, right? There's your attention whore. This is your celebrities, Kim Kardashians of the world, the guys who polish their truck or wrap it in an obnoxious color. Those guys love the attention, right? And that's why they got the truck, because they knew it would get attention. And then you have the nerds, right? The people who want it because it's high tech, it's new, it's different, right?
Mhm.
It's got things it can do that other cars can't. And those are very different people. I definitely fall in that second category. Like I'm a geek about the steering, right, and the electronics and the full self-driving. Like that stuff is fun. I hate the attention. And like the people who get it for the attention, they don't care about the tech at all, right? They just want it to be flashy. And then there's the normal people who, like your wife, who hate it. My wife hates it. Like so for the first month, she's like, "I'm not getting in that." And then I finally I just moved the car seats in it so she didn't have a choice.
There you go.
So
well, that's cool. Well, thanks, man, for coming on. I think we'll wrap it up here. Appreciate it. Thanks for showing that demo. I'll spend some time this weekend clipping it up so we can do little tutorials and stuff on it. But
I hope it was good.
It was awesome. I enjoy the hell out of this.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Everyone who watched, thanks for listening to me ramble for 2 hours.
If you guys don't know, go check it out. It's all at TrendSpider.com. Dan's all over Twitter as well. And hopefully eventually one day we'll get the rainbow stuff out there for you guys who use the TrendSpider. Because believe it or not, I've got a group of people that's their preferred. But they use both. But anyway, like I said, thanks again, and thanks for everybody coming in, and all this will be uploaded to YouTube over the weekend. So thanks.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, dude. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.
Later.